let's lower the music just a tad. Okay. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is me, Francisco. It's Sports Goofs number 173. I'm joined by my good buddy Charles here. And, well, the soundtrack of the... Because I keep forgetting to do this part where I do pick a soundtrack that plays in the background now. Because before we had ourselves in silence, and I've noticed other podcasts put a little ditty behind there anyways. And I think it sounds good, especially for like bouts of silence and stuff like that. And so I've been picking, of course, gaming soundtracks because of course. And lately they've all just been Zelda stuff. Okay, I've had gosh, man, Cadence of Hyrule. There we go. The Wind Waker before. I did Breath of the Wild before. Because Charles, this is leading up to something, all right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something billowing. There's something brewing going on right now inside of me. The calamity is going to happen, Charles. It's brewing. It's getting there, okay? So the calamity it'll come. We don't know when it'll come, but it'll come, Charles, and it's going to come hard. It is going to come hard. But I can't. I have to remain calm. I have to earn. It has to be earned, Charles. And I'm being patient. I'm being humble. But the moment it happens, Charles, that blood red moon's gonna go across the sky, and you'll know, and all of the world will know. There you go. Oh, that's a great opening right there to our 173rd episode, huh?
If I may, you know, comically evil is the phrase and the thought process of what I just heard here. And I thought, playing this entire time as Link, you were supposed to be the good guy, but little do they know, everybody wants to be a little bit of bad boy in between.
Yeah,
and Francisco...
I didn't pick it in Splatoon, but,
It's all right. I did the expected because the best heel turns are the ones that you don't expect to happen. And that's the truth. But, Calamity Francisco is a scary concept because even-keeled is usually what we define you as. Not in a bad way, not in a good way, but people don't understand. Usually there's been traces of the break. And that's usually if Canada is somehow, some way, some shape involved. Specifically kind of going from there.
Yeah, Northeast, as well.
And the whole concept, if you've been playing Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, which we're going to be talking about some Tears of a certain former kingdom real soon. I promise you that, kids. The idea is that when the Blood Red Moon comes back, all those that are slain return. So it's about facing those demons that you thought was done. Oh, I'm sorry. You thought this was over? This ain't over. And to give updates, because this is how I'm going to lead my portion of the show for the next several weeks, I feel like, until it's done. Where are we at Tears of the Kingdom? 35 hours in.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's do a Tears update because
it feels appropriate.
Yeah, no, it's been a journey. It's been a journey for both of us. It's because we were going to do this for Bayonetta. Of course, I went through my gaming lull, but I think Tears of the Kingdom was the perfect game to kind of do, and everybody's doing it as well right now. It released, everybody's on it right now. I know, there's people, try to speed run it, but we're just along for the ride right now. We're enjoying this.
And I like how we were both like, 60 hours, 70 hours minimum. And then I realized this game came out 2 Fridays ago. And I'm like, 35? What the fuck have I done?
I'm at 50 plus already, man.
Yeah, 35 for me, man. I was just like, what the hell have I done? How?
I just got all the Sky Towers.
I've got like 2 Sky Towers, man.
Yeah.
Because I've literally just been caught up still in the exploration.
Yeah, but I just wanted to get them so I can start plotting the map better.
Understandable.
And
that's why I just go to shrines and stables for me.
Oh, yeah, I know. Just you can do the fast travel, but I actually want to see it completely with all the details of the mountains and the water and all that stuff. So I kind of know what I'm getting at, what I'm getting into when I reach a certain point. And the same thing with the chasm, man.
Well, that's what I think you and I are kind of like following the same plan or pact, because now we're hitting, even though we got wild separation at this point, I really notice by hour 20, 25, 30, was when I was more in depth on looking into chasms and then going to the sky cities. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
The sky worlds. And I think that's just kind of what the natural progression is, because you have to amp up everything weapon wise and get there. And then you start feeling a little bit more confident. And then the first 10 hours, everybody, 10, 15 hours, sports show, the first 10, 15 hours of it, you're running on like 5 arrows each time. I think that's just how they designed it. That's how it was just designated, right? And then you're really in the situation where it's like there's more that come into it as you're imagining, as you're figuring out, as it all comes to you.
Yeah.
And it's just a blast, because I'm not even so much in love with it the way that people are because of the things you can do with Ultra Hand, which is awesome, by the way. And I'm learning reversal pretty well. I'm just a big fan of it and in love with it because of the exploration. I told you about it last week. The big issue, and it's not really a big issue, the issue with Breath of the Wild is I felt arbitrary. Why did it feel arbitrary? Climbing to Ganon's back. You need to go to the 4 Divine Beasts if you really want to have a good handicap against in the final fight. You don't have to go for it, but it's probably of your best intentions to do so. So you feel obligated to go there, right? Plain and simple. No questions about it, no bones. You go and you do it. This one's just like, yeah, shit kind of happens, but we're not kind of telling you to do it. You just kind of, they literally like, you just do it as your own.
Yeah.
So figure it out. And I'm like, I will get there when I get there. And I did Rito Village, and I completed Rito Village, and I liked Rito Village. I there's a little bit, whereas the end of Breath of the Wild, and this is minor spoilers, but screw it. With Breath of the Wild, it's the idea that all the guys that were helping you are dead, so there's the spirits of it. But now the plot that they're going on is the descendants are here going to make a chance. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. You're bringing up your new badasses, and I have my theories on Rauru, but we're not there fully yet. But then it's just like little stuff. And to encapsulate why I love this game in my 35-hour playthrough, as I told you, it's already at 9.5, and I don't know how you go down from here if I actually do missions engineered to give me cool fighting moments, is I ended up at that point where I'm going to lose this match. I ended up at that point where I just got to a tower or a shrine in the sky, and I didn't realize I was so near to Hyrule Castle, which I know has a main mission at some point. It always has to be. And I just text you. I'm like, man, I'm right here.
Yeah. I mean,
what do I do?
I told you.
I'm like, what do I? I'm like, what do I do?
Did you go to the throne room and get?
Yeah, I got the champion leather.
All right. Cool.
But the problem was I had climbing gear that was already at level 5, so I have to scale some dragons in order to up it.
I know, but
it's still cool.
Yeah, it's still, just to have it.
Well, I also got royal boots out of it, though.
Nice.
So it really, that combination, because you have to get near like Zelda study, if memory serves me right. So that combination allowed me to now put Link at 14, which is pretty fair where I'm at in the game. Remember, I've only done one area.
So you've gone to a ferry to get the thing?
Yeah, I found a ferry.
Because I can't get, like, they're like all pissed off at you.
It's at a stable. So this is why we do a show, because we're also giving you tips and tricks.
I've seen like 2 of them already. I've seen 2 of them, but they're all pissed off, think I'm a monster.
But there is one stable that has a mini mission. That's how a lot of these things actually go. Where there's a mini mission depending where you go, and they're mostly at stables.
That's the thing I'm noticing in this game too. There are they're not, because they have actual side quests that they put on the quest chart or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they have like you said, like a mini mission.
It's like GTA 5, kids.
Yeah, exactly. You don't. It's not really labeled, but you can do it, right? Like I have to go. Like, there's one that like you're like
because it opens up all the missing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, so
that's what happened with the ferry, and I can tell you where it's at when I launch into it.
Yeah.
At some
I don't
point.
Spend time at the stables for the most part. I just go.
And part of it too, because when I got to Rito Village, you know how they talk about the Lucky Clover Gazette.
Yeah.
Like, if you get to Rito Village and you get to the Rito stable, they have the Clover Gazette job that you can get to be investigator, so you can go investigate the stories that are happening there.
Yeah.
For people, so they create like little mini, like, think of it storyline C missions. But the whole incentive for that is better climbing gear, which is debatably needed in this game, because I have a very good climbing shirt. Yeah. But also with upward. And if you just have a good stamina wheel, and that's why I have like 9 hearts, but I'm put the focus on the stamina wheel for a bit for the combat. The combat's going to get harder, so you really got to go for the stamina wheel. But that's what I would say about the game. It's like, now it once you dedicate a work week on it, which we both have, you're realizing like now how you should progress the story. Because now I want to do more shrines, of course, but now I know where I'm going to go to the next stable because I'm near Necluda now. And I'm like, all right, I'll go to Necluda. And then I'll go do with Death Mountain. Or maybe I might do Zora because you said it was like, because here's the thing, I didn't really like the Zora domain in Breath of the Wild. I can't recall why I didn't like it. I just didn't. Even though I think it had the coolest Va out there, Divine Beast.
Yeah.
But, but you've done 3 already, though. You're much further than I am if you've done all these things.
I did 2 already. I finished Death Mountain, the Goron stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that guy. And then I did the Gerudo, which was in the desert. So I finished that one, too. So I got the Gerudo chick. So
I like to save the Gerudo last because I thought they were just so good how they were done in Breath of the Wild,
Well, I just realized like she's I went to the Gerudo first in Breath of the Wild, and then I did the same thing in this one, but then I didn't finish it first. I finished the Goron first, and then I went back to the Gerudo to finish off the temple there. So, but I like the Gerudo girl's power.
Yeah. Well, Urbosa had the best power in the Breath of the Wild.
I mean, she's got lightning, right? So that's kind of why I have her and the other guy, and the Goron guy is perfect because now I don't have to waste bombs, destroying giant rocks and
because
stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah, he just bulldozes into them.
So whereas I would have said do Rito because Rito you get a Gus of that you could do as you're gliding. Because that's what led me to be able to get to Hyrule, because I took one little stamina ball that you get from Addison. Anybody who's listening that plays this game, help the dude trying to set up the President Hudson signs.
Oh, I've been doing that all the time.
Like, never skip it.
Yeah.
Because he just gives you all this good
money,
stuff.
food. Yeah.
But the food he gave me was a full entire wheel of stamina. And I'm like, oh, now I'm going to take this in the middle of air. And then it just got me there.
Perfect thing for the area.
Yeah.
It's
so I'm
you go to the Gerudo thing, he'll give you the rice balls with all with the chill effect, so you can withstand the heat.
Yeah, so he's just like literally perfect. But like now we're almost at the 40-hour mark where I'm like, all right, maybe I'll do like 2 villages straight. Because here's the thing, I think there's like 15, 20 main mission stories.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I've only knocked out like 3 or 4, legitimately speaking, we're okay. Because there's the back 9 that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
So that is where we're at Tears of the Kingdom. And I was trying to figure out how I got 35 hours in within 2 weeks, because I know the first weekend I did 9 hours. But you're telling me during work, I somehow put in, because originally I got the 20 and I did 11. But I realized because it's a very therapeutic game for me. I like it a lot. I think it's really good if you need to unwind and do whatever. I can do an hour and a half each night. And I thought, no, I can do it. But if I'm not doing the story, I'm just looking for shrines and looking at the world. And that's the reason why I'm really taking my time with it. Because I know I have to do the regional phenomenon storylines and everything, but I feel like if I accomplish everything I have to accomplish, I'm not going to go back. You know what I mean? Because that's what everybody said. Oh, I go back to Breath of the Wild. I went back to Breath of the Wild a little bit, and I fought a dragon, and that was it. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be missing that part. You're really taking it all. So I'm expecting 90, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I have not played a single player game in so long that led to it. And you've heard me. I feel hypocritical because I felt. I bitch and complain about how I can't play JRPGs, and because they're 100+ hours. Persona 5 didn't click with me.
I was gonna say Persona.
But then you've heard me say, I'm sick of them making long games. But then we get this, and the reason why this is the exception to rule is just because everything from off the bat, man. And I might be fanboying hard. I don't care. You're entitled to buy what you want to buy, and like what you want to like. But when I went off the bat, it literally just hit all the notes of telling me you want to do this. Because what I was doing Friday, for example, I put a nice 5-hour session in. I don't have to listen to music by itself. I put on one of the audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I'm able to and I'm like, man, it just flows so good.
I was listening to JJ Reddick's podcast. I've been following that. He's got a good one. I like that one.
Reddick is intelligent enough, is the word I'll say.
Yeah.
When it comes into it, he has good points. He has very good points. But that's my Tears of the Kingdom update. I anticipate to put in like 10 to 15 hours this week.
Yeah, I've right now I'm still trying to plot out the map because I really want to know where everything is. I mean, the chasms are kind of intriguing me right now.
Yeah.
Right, I'm underneath. Right, where I left off was underneath the Great Forest, the Lost Woods. Because apparently you have to go through the chasms in order to get through it. So I'm there. I'm kind of lost down there. So I might look up a YouTube tutorial just to see it, where I'm supposed to go. Because I think I'm lost because I spent like an hour trying to figure out where I'm going and trying to plot it out. But yeah, I've been lighting up that whole place down there, and I've been finding stuff because you start lighting stuff up, you'll find some good gear. I found Ganondorf's from Ocarina of Times, his boots down there.
How do you feel about being pseudo multiverse?
I looked at the timeline on like Zelda, Pedia, whatever, and supposedly this is like they can't really place it anywhere on any of the timeline branches from Ocarina of Time. They just say that it's like in the far-flung future, way out, like not even like thousands of years, not connected to the past ones.
But that's why I call it multiverse, because they're gonna not say it's a direct sequel.
Yeah, and that might be the best way for them to kind of justify, like, okay, we're gonna do new Link with a new different world and all these other things, so they can kind of gives them that flexibility. I mean, once again, this stuff
video game,
well, but it's taken from the comic book world and stuff like that. You can have multiple versions of the same character from different universes and all that stuff, and you can have them cross over if you feel like it. And then have Charles kind of be like, Spider-Man was mid. And then you can be like...
But not for the other Spider-Man that's coming.
Or you can have a Spider-Man like that one where it's just like, oh, that's excellent, So we're going to have... The multiple links have already been a thing anyways. It doesn't really matter. Nintendo doesn't care about story. Everybody should know this. People want Nintendo to care about story, but they don't. They don't really.
Well, they care about story, but they don't care about continuity.
Well, okay, they don't care about continuity. That's a better way to say it. Really, the only franchise that I know, because I don't play the Xenoblade stuff, and I think those are all disconnected too. Or Fire Emblem. I think Fire Emblem is kind of in the same timeline, but I don't. And they now they have like a multiverse thing as well. Really, the only franchise that I know of Nintendo's that actually makes sense is the Metroid one. That's the only one where, like, okay, these are where the games are placed.
Not unless you don't count Prime.
Oh, no,
but
Prime is part of it. Yeah, no, Prime is slots right in between 2 and Super Metroid.
Okay.
I'm a Metroid file. So that's my favorite series. Out of all Nintendo series, that's probably my favorite out of all of them, just because of the consistency.
Listen, Dread broke my dry spell.
All bangers. Other M, even though people would say it's bad in the context of story.
Yeah.
As far as an actual video game, it was good. And I have Federation Force. That one is just kind of there.
So are we doing remastered? I'm super tempted. Yeah.
Nah, I don't need to. I've played Prime so many times. And the remaster is the same game, except it looks better. And I love Metroid Prime. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's like top 10 in my opinion. But I don't need to go through it again. I'm fine. I don't need to pay money for it. I'd rather them. I want to see 4.
My opinion.
4, and that's not coming out until the new Switch. So I think we're gonna see that in like 2025. That's probably.
And you see, for me with Metroid, it's like I played 1 and I enjoyed it. 2 I skipped. And I have 3, but I never got to it. But I kind of want the entire shebang. But it is the modernized combat control and the controllers that intrigues me. But Dread was a very nice setup that they had. I was very happy with it. I would agree with you that. Ironically, too, the only other consistent storyline that they follow through is actually Splatoon, and I don't play the story. I don't need to play the story. Y'all need to understand. If you come to my house,
you find all this stuff, which tells you what happened to the human beings and to the mammals and stuff like that. So it's interesting. But you can find all that on YouTube. So.
Yeah. But Tears of the Kingdom, where are we at now? Because I remember we said, 9 technical thing. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be 9.5, man.
At least, because this is one of those few games, and we're gonna wrap it up soon because we're already 20 minutes into this. It is one of those. It's a game that
fantastic.
I feel like I've done nothing,
right,
but I've done so much. Which is
just just like being a lawyer in their mid-30s. Yes.
So like it's like Joe Mazzulla, right? Anyways.
Yeah. Tears of a Kingdom coming soon. We got 2 kingdoms here that we're gonna talk about.
So it was so far, Yeah, this is gonna be. I feel I don't know if I'll touch 100, and I man, I don't even would they even do a DLC drop for this too?
They do not need to.
Yeah, they don't really need to. Breath of the Wild's DLC was okay.
Trials. It was just trials.
Yeah, it was trials and finding some extra items in the world and stuff. It wasn't anything that substantial story wise. But this one, it's like I don't know if they even need to. They don't really need to. That's $70 either. Like I think, but who knows? They might do like a little extra thing with. But I'd like to see some story. But anyways, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. We're gonna touch at least 80 with this one. I know at some point I'm gonna just be like, all right, let's make a run at Ganondorf. Let's go. There you go. All right, Charles, we're at 22 minutes. That's the gaming talk. Because I dabbled a little bit on some stuff on my PC because I played some SNK stuff. Just as a break, just as a little whatever.
Cooler.
Real About Fatal Fury 2 is actually pretty excellent, by the way. Those are, I don't, for whatever reason, and maybe it's because I haven't played, because you mentioned Street Fighter 6. And we'll talk a little bit about this. We're at 22 minutes. I like Street Fighter 2 and all that stuff, but I feel like I've never played the arcade version of Street Fighter 2, like the best version of Street Fighter 2, like the Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers. That I played the Capcom arcade thing that they have on like the Switch and PC. They have Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior, the original one, but even then I played SNK stuff over this past weekend, and Real About Fatal Fury 2, I'm just like,
Got me about that Terry, man.
That's how a game should control and look for a 2D fighting game. It looks fantastic. I don't know when that released.
Like a centisecond of lag in those games. Yeah, because I remember playing the arcade and everything else is just so good.
It's really good. And I told you I played King. I think I played King of Fighters 2002. Also fantastic, all that stuff, and I just got wrecked. That's kind of what keeps me away from fighting games, because you play them, but these like one-on-one fighters, I'm not. I don't really buy them at all. Like Smash, fantastic, all that stuff, but the other ones I can't because.
Smash is situational. It's not about actually knowing the combos. In my opinion, it's not about knowing the combos. It's knowing when to just deflect and then put your stuff in there. And then for chaos, using weapons.
Yeah, so then but 2D fighting games, it's one-on-one. You have to know combos. You have to know, hit boxes and all that stuff. And people in Smash do that too, but it seems like 2D fighting games, one-on-one, it's just like...
we have played Smash together, and I'll tell you now, you've seen me gone off the beaten path, and you've seen me also just, go at a guy when we were doing, the forward things. It depends on how you know your people, but it's about... Because you have... It's the specials, man. And I'm not talking about the Smash Ball special, I'm talking about, the up Bs and the down Bs of when to utilize it.
So we'll see with Street Fighter 6.
I was mildly intrigued, I'm not gonna lie.
It looks good. It looks fantastic. I like the art style. It's all... I think the storyline's about, the after M. Bison's dead or whatever. So, but, of course, he's probably going to come back in some sort of weird way. So you got that. You got Mortal Kombat 1.
But they're changing it, though. You have assist stuff now. They're going, Naruto Ninja Storm style, it seems like. So you got Mortal Kombat 1. So, fighting games have made a comeback. So that's a cool thing. I like to see that. Yeah, my current fighting games I usually play are Injustice 2, Smash, and then Dragon Ball Z Fighters. And then if you count WWE as a fighting game, which, yeah, sure, it does, I guess. But, it's always good for some flesh blood. Here's my thing, though. I didn't realize Tekken 8 was also coming out. So you really, really got to see what you like more. Because I was always kind of the fight of, do you like Tekken or do you like Street Fighter?
Tekken's fine. I don't mind Tekken.
Tekken Tag Tournament was all I needed in life, and that was it.
And it's weird because I grew up with that, and I grew up with Virtua Fighter 2. Yep. But I've lost all skill from that.
You talk about the dedication. That is the deepest fighting game I played that isn't Blaze Blue or
if anybody's seen the combo list for a Virtua Fighter game, it is insane.
I could probably pull off 2 moves of each person. I got Virtua Fighter 5 on my PlayStation because it's one of those games, free games.
That's the last one they made too. So it's good. I've heard it's fantastic, and all that stuff. And I think one of the Yakuza games actually has that game inside of it. So I got to figure out which one that is.
Do you like Soul Calibur?
I played 2 because Link.
Yeah.
Which was fine. I mean, it's fine. But
I like the weapon-based system.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that.
It's different.
But then they made 6, and I was like, because I remember me and my boy, Friday nights in college, we would hang out, get a pizza, drink some Pepsi when I didn't drink real drinks, and then just go for town because it was street. It was well, damn, I so many fighting games we just listened. It was Soul Calibur 4, and we had it for the PS4 or PS3 at that time, so we could play as Vader and then Starkiller.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
And then they had Soul Calibur 2 had Spawn, which is like the weirdest thing when you think about it.
Well, because Microsoft had no actual characters at that point, so they just picked them. Well, I mean, now it's not so weird with all the cameos of other characters. Mortal Kombat had all the movie guys, and then Injustice had Ninja Turtles, Hellboy, and all those guys.
That's what made me enjoy Injustice 2, because they had the skins, and you can just unlock the skins to get you all the other 4 turtles. Yep.
The only one that's, I think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was terrible, from what I've heard.
Yep. The art style was... I love Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Me and my boys would just go hours on that, man. Because those kind of fighting games where you're not playing with random people, but we can get your friends to play with it too, on just Wildest, is just great. Like, we put in good enough time smashed together.
You get all that appeal. That's the reason why.
Yeah. But it was good combos. It wasn't cheap. Like, I'm sorry, but I feel like sometimes the Mortal Kombat stuff is just cheap with who they have as special characters. Like, even with the updated list, I don't care about Homelander and then some of the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you already got a deep enough roster. What does it matter?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just now that's how they get people. That's how that's all marketing. It's just, okay, let's see who else we can put in these games.
The problem is I can't buy all these. There will always be like a fighting game I buy like every 2 years. Every 3 years at sense. And I think the last one was legitimately, aside from Justice 2, was Dragon Ball FighterZ, which was great. If you like fighting games, Arc makes excellent stuff. That comes into it. They're also just very, very petite. But here's the thing. There's the king of fighting games that's going to be coming soon, next year, I think. And that's going to be Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 4. And you guys just have to understand, I'm going to put my controller down because I'm talking with my hands if you see me. We're talking about to my old high school days, and there was 2 fighting games that we played. Dragon Ball Budokai 3, and then Budokai Tenkaichi 2, not Raging Blast, all that stuff. It was just cell games, man. Now you're going to give me that with Super, with the World Tournament of Power? I'm doing that. And we also do like all the Naruto games. Actually, no, I did buy the Naruto game like last year, so there you go. But Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 or whatever. Not Jump Force. Jump Force is soggy. No, but it was the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you could do like the tag-ins and stuff like that. It's just I don't even watch Naruto like that, but I like playing Naruto because of the diversity of characters they have. Like 60 fucking characters, man. I'm like, yes, let's do this. But Budokai 4 is coming out. I'm going to go down to Palm Beach with my buddies and play that for like 3 hours straight and try to reclaim some old glories.
Nice. All right. So we're at 30 minutes. Let's go. So I've labeled this episode, Charles, because last episode was the Boston funeral watch party, right? And today is called the Boston eulogy party.
Yep. Oh, we should call it Boston Tears Party. I'm so sorry that I'm not as quick-witted as I used to be.
I know. That's a good one too. But I think
and we were just talking about Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. And so
we'll call it Boston Tear Party if they win. How about that?
Sure, why not? Yeah. Either way, we've already won, Charles. Yeah. We have won. We have won. It started a few weeks ago with the Panthers, and it has culminated yesterday with the Miami Heat. So
Peppa's all night long.
I want to do. This is what I want to do, Charles. This past month or so, let's just say a month, I've been cooking on social media.
He really has. Follow him on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Marlins historian, Panther historian, Charles the True, Dan Freehole, SFJO, JR.
I'm doing
Sports _Goof. I went everything on that one.
It is great. Let me see. Let me take off this. The Marlins and Padres are playing. Anyways, it's been a long time coming for me, because I've been having some good time. So, and I've been posting stuff on our Sports Goofs thing, because like someone is like, oh, how does somebody because Boston fans are looking for the excuses, man. The excuses,
No, before they go to the excuses, they're going with the hype.
Yeah.
And then they get to excuses. Because the Bruins were just like it too.
Yeah. So I'm going to start. Actually, this is the only place we're going to be at. We're going to go on freezing cold takes. Okay.
This was actually planned. For the people who are listening who know that we don't plan, I think we had literally talked about with the last 2 days. We're like, we're just going to go hardcore.
I'm just going to go on freezing cold takes right now. All right, this is Fred Siegel. He's also a lawyer, by the way, so he's one of us. So he's also miserable on the side, but he's got this other project here. He actually came out with a book for the NFL cold takes over the few decades or so, which is fantastic. And he's from here. He's from West Palm Beach, so he really is one of us. So we're going to go down the list here, Charles. Mm-hmm. So we got Celtics on NBC Sports, Boston. You had Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo, and I don't know who the hell's Eddie. Who's Eddie? I don't know who Eddie is.
Not Eddie Curry.
No, Eddie Curry got himself a ring. So in Miami, for sure. The Game 7 predictions, of course, Paul Pierce said the Heat were going to get dubbed. He thought that the Miami Heat were going to lose by 20 to the Boston Celtics. All right.
How do we want to statistically approach this?
I don't know. However you want to respond to Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo right now.
All right, I'm doing this. So Paul, not only did you drop the ball, but you also forgot to drop your drawers, because just like how you shit yourself last time, you just let it shit out, man. You ran, you talked shit, and didn't happen. And we insulted Paul Pierce 3 weeks ago. I keep the receipts, and we said he was the best player on that team, because at that time it was just a vacuum hole of hell.
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics back in.
Paul Pierce without KG and Ray Allen would just be Stephon Marbury.
Yeah, well, I think that's essentially where we went at, right? Except actually,
but we didn't mention it. But now it comes to mind to me that
Stephon Marbury accomplished things overseas.
Yeah, well, because he was smart enough to get out and get paid. He's going to lose in the NBA. He'd rather get paid someplace else.
Paul Pierce on his own in Boston. And the hub could just hate us. I'm just going to join Parakeet Cortez and all this fury.
I listened to that this morning.
It was great. And I don't even hate Boston like this. I'm going to have actually a all
and
eulogies.
You're a New Yorker, so
Yeah. Well, all eulogies always have to have a compliment before they go into the insults, and the compliments will come. But this is how I feel about Paul Pierce essentially as a player. Coming into it, Paul Pierce is the cleanest room at a Motel 6 that's roach infested. And you required new ownership, new management, new staff to keep you on the realm of relevancy. Because if he didn't have that career trajectory of Allen and Garnett and then Rondo coming all into play, it is bad. He wouldn't be in Boston as long as they were.
Retired. Yeah.
And it would just kind of go from there. And he had that smugness. And I'm like, man, your opinion is so trash. ESPN's not going to be even calling you back. They don't care about it. Like, you didn't get fired because of the booty popping, bud. You got fired just because you weren't good with your takes. Rajon Rondo.
Is he even worthy of being hated?
I mean, you're still here? You're still around?
I didn't realize he retired.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he was kind of doing the vast track of coaching in the G League to actually have some balance, because that's what most point guards go for.
Yeah.
You know what with Rajon though? I'm gonna say something super inflammatory. That man channeled more of Boston Celtics, gruff and grit than Paul Pierce did. So I can respect it.
Yeah, that's true.
But, when it comes to Paul Pierce, the drizzling shits that he is.
I will say Rajon Rondo proved to be more valuable post-Celtics career than Paul Pierce did post Celtics career.
Yeah,
because he went out to Brooklyn. He was in Washington, right? He went to Washington for like
he got traded to Dallas and everything
the Clippers,
like that.
right?
Oh, we're talking about Paul Pierce? Yeah, he went to like 5 different teams like a year and a half.
And yet Rajon Rondo seemed like the guy that a lot they talk about, like younger players, like he was good with them. Like he's probably going to be a coach in the future. But anyway,
yeah, well that's why I was like, oh. But the thing about Paul Pierce, realistically, not even just to go on the bad takes, it's just it's so expected that no one can be objective. Like Shaq, who is both in theory a Heat and a Celtic, and a Cavalier, and all these other things.
Final stop in his career. It was just sad.
I feel so bad for him. The idea is like you can look at what's in front of you, and Paul cannot look at what was in front of him. And we're going to talk about the game, guys. Don't worry. We're going to talk about those 2 games that we can get in touch with. But it was what was in front of them was piss poor management of time and players and a ghastly 3-point shooting. But Paul's like, we're going to do it. I'm like, no, you're not going to do it. You're just doing this to be relevant and to be there. And it just, can I be petty on this? It felt so good.
We're on the petty train, my dude.
But this, I was gonna hit this at midpoint, but I'm gonna start with that. It felt so good that all this, you had a Boston award of the Larry Bird Trophy to the MVP, the Bob Cousy Award, and then you have Paul Pierce all to stomach that, and there's Alonzo Mourning just chilling, looking great, looking like he didn't get fired, looking all this other stuff.
This Paul Pierce. Remember when he who was it? Who came back? Freaking.
And Lonzo didn't have to sign a day 1 contract to retire. He just retired. He got to stay in the organization.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, and Pat Riley just all smiles. Fantastic. Yeah. He really hates Boston, man.
He does. That was the whole speech about him and
that is pettiness of legendary proportions.
I slick my hair back for a reason.
Yeah.
But the cold freezing takes, because we have a lot of cold takes to take on.
Keep going. Yeah.
Just.
That's stop 1 here on the petty train. Let's go on over. Here we go. Dan Dakich.
Oof.
All right. Dan Dakich. Okay, so George Sedano, who's one of us down here from Hialeah, South Floridian, made it big, went national with ESPN and all that stuff.
Sedano and Stink, right?
Yeah, and like he's he is true in the South Floridian as well. Like he does as much. He does pull for the Heat and the Panthers and the Dolphins and the Marlins. And so there was this clip here of Sedano with Dan Dakich at like an NBA Summer League game. And Dakich was basically saying there were several coaches in the league. And this is back in what, 2018? Or 2019. That were better than Eric Spoelstra at that point. And Sedano was like vehemently disagreeing with this man. This man named Nate McMillan as one of the coaches.
And was better than Spo. That was actually one of the things that you and I have been consistent on for what we've been doing the show together 5 years. Yeah. I would say for the 5 years consistent that there was never a bad word about Spo.
Yeah.
Even the chat, whenever I say fire Spoelstra, it's the joke. We know who I really wanted to get traded, and we're going to talk about that. But I don't know how you say Nate McMillan at that time. At that time.
Exactly.
You can tell me, the head coach of Charlotte Bobcats, whoever his name now, Clifford something, Steve Clifford, is he better than Spo? No. Please?
So, and the big thing was Brad Stevens was better than Spo. That was the big thing. That was the big point of contention there.
Oof.
All right.
Man, can I sidebar it real quick, but relevant? For y'all's hatred of super teams, you can't acknowledge the fact that there's coaches who win with super teams multiple titles. Because I'll tell you now, there's only been 2 coaches who have won with the super teams multiple titles and have had multiple appearances. Steve Kerr, Eric Spoelstra. Doc Rivers had a super team. He was the genesis of the 2010
And we're not talking about Phil Jackson, right?
We're talking about
like
you know
the
me.
Last decade.
I'm done comparing the past.
Yeah.
So
let's say the 2010s onward.
Yeah, technically Doc had that window, 2007 lead into it, got 1 ring out of it, and then came nothing of it. Couldn't do anything with the super teams. Jason Kidd couldn't do anything with the super teams because that Brooke Lopez combo that they had there of Joe Johnson, Brooke Lopez, Duran Williams. I'll call it a super team because if you spend money on it as a super team, I'm going to qualify it and quantify it.
They did.
Tyronn Lue couldn't get it done. Got 1. but he had multiple appearances, but you're not going to be ahead of time. You do count championships, I feel, when it comes to the best coaches. I'm sorry, because you have to, and this goes to another statistic. And look, I actually deep dive some stuff in preparation, because this is what I was doing last night. I was sending you all that trash stuff. I was like, all right, we're going from there. Because it's going to be why do you guys love Boston so much and not Miami as a metro, major market? But that's a little bit later. That's coming in the cold takes. I'll tell you that now. However, we've had the multiple appearances. We've had the people. You're not going to give Spo that credit. Even when they had the non-playoff positions that came in, what happened? What did they do? They ended up doing what? They ended up missing the playoffs, but never being under 500. They never they never balked in that situation. Yeah, they never had to go into any of that, and it's just ridiculous. Legitimately. Yeah. Like, why do you guys hate us so much?
The Heat didn't do any of that process stuff or anything like that. They just kind of rebuilt on the fly. Yeah, there were some lows. I mean, sheesh.
Yeah. Hassan Whiteside is the biggest low.
Hassan Whiteside, Tyler Johnson.
But we lost some weight. We got hot.
Yeah.
We did all these things. But okay, back to the freezing cold takes, because that was a sidebar.
So that was Dan Dakic, and then he doubled down after it was retweeted by Freezing Cold Takes. 100% accurate by me in 2019. And he's like, 2017 missed playoffs, 2018 lost in first round, 2019 missed playoffs. Thank goodness for Pat Riley. That's what he said. And it still was a Freezing Cold Take in 2023. So this man doubled down on his take.
Ignores 2020 getting to the finals.
I don't even know who this man is. Who's Dan Dakic?
But that's also my problem with the Twitter world. Aside from people think that they're tough, they also think that their opinion matters. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I don't know. He was on a freaking ESPN broadcast with George Sedano and NBA.
Everybody is these days. ESPN laid off half the other people because they don't want to pay him big money just for Stephen A. Smith. And it'll take anybody who's going to want the bones.
Anyways, we're going to keep going here. This is Thomas Carrieri, who I've seen.
I'm surprised you haven't gone Bill Simmons yet.
We're getting there, my dude.
Well, that's right. With a few
there.
Good eulogies, you don't have the person crying over, my mistake. If you guys ever been to a funeral, and it's going to happen to all of us in life, there's always that stage too when you're giving the eulogy, someone just hovers over on the casket, just wails this cry that could rip the universes apart. That's coming, Bill. That's coming, Bill Simmons.
This is Thomas Carrieri. He's got a few good followers and stuff like that. I don't know what he does. Anyways, he's it's going to be a fun few months in Boston. Showing the split Celtics, Bruins, TD Garden there. All right. So,
I've been to a Celtics game at TD Garden.
You have?
Yeah. Oh. I went to Boston almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
For spring break, and I saw him playing against the Knicks. And you know what? They ain't got nothing on the Kaysa Center. I don't know how to say it. Kaseya. I had to Google it. It'd be like, it's IT because they have the FTX nonsense.
Yep. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Let's see. Tommy Curran, and these are just randos that they're putting at some point. This guy's had 160 followers, 60,000 followers. So he's NBC Sports. Boston and Pat's Insider. So we're just gonna get a bunch of Boston people. So we won't know them, but other people will, and that will make us laugh. I feel the Celtics will show up to deliver the wire-to-wire pounding of Miami. They should have been delivering since the middle of last week. Boston 113, Miami 103. Sure. Sure. Let's see. Lakers guru. Let's see. Freezing cold take. Jimmy Butler is under contract through 25-26. He is due an estimated $52 million that season. He'll be 36. He's missed 17 out of 40 games this season. Missed 145 the past 9 seasons. He averages 17 points per game over his career. This is the worst contract in NBA history.
Oh man, that's there is somebody on that team who could possibly be. I got 2 guys on that team who could be on our team who could be the worst contract. But let's talk about this. This is the one, because these are other people who have felt it. These are other people who felt it. You can take it because he is your husband. Yes. He's just he's my Friday night, but he is your husband, so defend him.
Oh, well, a lot of people don't realize that the Miami Heat, everything is planned with the Miami Heat. The Heat think in 4D chess, okay? They're playing 4D chess right now. Everybody else is playing checkers. Heat play 4D chess. They plan out everything. They even plan out Jimmy's rest, okay? Because this is something that they've known.
Is that something attributed to a never winner of a Coach of the Year? that everybody's better than, apparently.
Yeah, it's about an entire philosophy around an entire franchise that knows that the regular season, if your team is good enough, doesn't matter. It's been proven so many times. The Miami Heat, the way Eric Spoelstra coaches, he flips his roster around. He does all kinds of things with his lineups and everything like that. He tinkers and he finds out what's going to be the best for each situation throughout the season. I'm never going to use Duncan Robinson for like 90% of the regular season. 10% whenever we just need a body. Playoffs come, we're going to use Duncan Robinson again.
And it feels like he's worth almost every penny. It's so weird.
Exactly. And these are one of the guys that are like, people are also saying is like one of the worst contracts in the NBA. And look what happens. Because Spo just needs the pieces to work with. So Jimmy is there when you need Jimmy to be there. Okay? He saves up his energy because he goes hard afterwards. So I don't mind Jimmy missing 145 games over the past 9 seasons. I don't need Jimmy to be there. For the Heat will be fine. Okay, the Atlanta Hawks want to try super duper hard to win a play-in game that the Heat really don't need. Fine, let Atlanta have that game, celebrate, go get wiped in the first round. The Miami Heat, fine, we'll go up against the Milwaukee Bucks. We've beaten them before. We've got the horses for this. So we don't need Jimmy there all the time. This team is not desperate for that. They don't need that sort of validation. Jimmy doesn't even need the validation of an MVP. He doesn't need any of that. You saw him holding the MVP trophy yesterday.
You didn't want to touch him, man.
He didn't really want to touch it. Honestly, if this was like the NHL, the Panthers touched the Prince of Wales trophy. I don't care if they touch it or not. But if the NBA had such a superstition, he probably wouldn't have touched it. He was like, I don't give a shit about this. And he was holding it like that. He's like, they gave it to him. He's just like, So it doesn't matter to him. Jimmy is the Miami Heat. He is the best contract in the NBA. It can't be the worst in NBA history. That's just way, way too over the top. There's way too many other players that have had the worst contracts in NBA history. Okay, you look at the offseason of 2016, you'll find a bunch of them there. No way. But Jimmy is probably the best trade in the NBA over the last 5 years. I'm gonna say that right now.
Fair.
Because that is the perfect trade for like the perfect fit player to organization.
Coach, really.
There's been other teams that have traded for big guys, things like that. You know, how many times has James Harden been traded over the past few years?
3. Or
and
2, and
does
then
it
it
ever
might
seem like he really fits in any of those teams? Because it surely doesn't. When the chickens come to roost in the playoffs, it sure as hell doesn't seem like it. But Jimmy, you plugged him into Miami, and look what happens. So, Lakers guru, come on, man. You guys have an asterisk 2020 title. Come on. All right. Anyways, we're moving on. I don't care.
May I jump in a little bit on that one real quick?
Ahead.
The reason why people hate Jimmy is because 2 reasons, I would say. 1, most importantly, the guys with those big contracts that you feel are worth it are those shooters that they just make everything in. You forgot about what good defensive effort looks like.
Yeah.
You know, case in point, that y'all love Steph, man. Y'all
Jimmy
love
doesn't
John.
even have to shoot threes.
Y'all love Jimmy, or you love Embiid. You know, they're coming into it. And do they deserve that money? That's fine. But y'all ain't going to talk about them being bad contracts when they can't do anything in the playoffs for whatever reason. When you have a player who is that constructed well enough, because here's the thing about Jimmy. He's Mr. Close to a triple-double almost every game that's important.
Yeah.
But he can take over. He was making threes yesterday, and they were not just desperation heaves.
Yeah.
But they were
Calculated.
important, calculated, but he was running to the corner. You guys got use. This is the part 2. because he's not the big shooter. You guys got used to the best players have to be the guys who do the big shots, who have to make these trick shots, half court stuff. I hate to say Dame Lillard as an example, but you know what I mean? That's what you're looking at flash and show instead of substance. When the substance has been there so long for this man. You're talking to the guy who said 4 years ago, I don't want Jimmy on Philly, and I had every meaning and intention. But he's perfect also for Spoelstra, because you don't see that anymore where a player and a coach fit hand in hand, who demands everything of him and doesn't take his shit as a player. And that player, that is, there's never a
Charles. You can hear it outside.
Yeah, there's not 100% buy-in, but Jimmy is 99% of the buy-in. And you know why you guys hate him too? Because he can make talent better around him. He didn't have to get anybody selectively in there. And, you know, the apologies come.
Which is the fault of a lot of other quote-unquote superstars out there that really don't do it. Like I gave you the James Harden example. Has he really made any teams he's been on better?
Kind of hard to do when you have new coaches.
Regular season? Yeah, and the coaching thing as well, because, and that's another point that I've heard on JJ Redick's podcast. And there was a debate between Charles Barkley and Shaq last night about the importance of
coaching. Yeah, I was watching that.
So like, and you know, Chuck makes some good points. Of course, you guys operate in a hive mind. So like, but one of the things that I think JJ Redick on his show, because I think he was talking to Gilbert Arenas. Yeah, he was talking about Gilbert Arenas, and they were talking about how, and because Gilbert was kind of like, man, you got all these guys who've been winning Coach of the Year and championships getting fired, like within a season or 2 seasons after they've done so, right? And no team really has the patience to let coaches develop. And that's another point to Pat Riley. Pat Riley had the wherewithal to pick, and he's done it like 3 times. He had Jeff Van, he had Stan Van, and he's got Spo, his greatest masterpiece, molding this man to be one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he let Spo learn on the job, didn't tinker with them. LeBron comes in, LeBron complains about Spo. Pat's like, this guy's staying. He's not going anywhere. Okay. Big 3 breaks up. All right, Spo, let's see what you can work with here. And
Goran Dragic in the the lungs of Chris Bosh.
Yeah. Unfortunately with Chris Bosh, and you know, history would have been way different if Bosh was healthy. But and then, you know, the quote unquote doldrums that whatever Dakic, whatever the fuck his name was. There's my first F word. There we go. And so the Spo still finding ways, because remember there was that one weird season when the Heat were like 10-41, or 10-31, and then
he goes like 30 straight,
and then 31-10 after that. So Spo had the chance to develop. So NBA coaches aren't allowed to develop anymore, which is really weird. And even the ones that win championships, they're not allowed to, you know, stay there. Like you had Pop, and now Spo. Spo's going to be probably like that last bastion. Somebody else is going to do it at some point, right? They're just going to have a coach that's going to be there. Because, I mean, yeah, Steve Kerr, but, I mean, honestly, I don't think Steve Kerr is going to be like, is going to have that longevity.
Yeah, he could just, he's going to go front office. I think he's going to be like Stevens.
Well, he's done it before. He's done it before.
Yeah, well, especially since Bob Meyer just stepped down.
Yeah, and that, he's probably going to go front office and just go like that. So, but there's not going to be a guy who's going to be coached like that. And Spo eventually is going to be
the next Pat.
Exactly. Yeah. And so Spo is eventually going to pick his protege, who might be on the Heat's coaching staff right now, right? I forgot who that guy is. He looks like that one guy. He's been there for a while. Or it could be Caron Butler. I don't know. It could be one of those guys.
Right? I keep forgetting Caron's on there as like an offensive specialist.
Yeah, he is on there.
We ever going to give Fizdale a call?
We got to get Caron a ring, by the way, because he's one of the – he was
the OGs.
The 03-04 Heat with Wade and UD on that team. Anyways, Yeah. Okay, so that's enough of this one. Let's see. We're at 55 minutes. I think we can go 5 more minutes looking at these freezing cold takes before we move on, because this is about basketball. We haven't even talked about the hockey yet.
Yeah. And basketball's not over, because I'm telling you guys right now, there's some humble pie that I have to serve.
Yeah. We have to go down.
The eulogy doesn't end. We're just going through the grief process.
Because we haven't even really completely dug, because we're digging into Boston right now on the basketball side.
Well, we're attacking the people first before we talk about the players and the analysts, because the analysts, everybody's gonna get some. So let's just enjoy this.
Let's see. I don't know what. Let's see. Trae Young.
Oh, please.
Boston gonna beat Miami now. It's over. Crying, laughing emoji.
For the
2
guy
days before, the lollipop man that fell on the ground.
It's fantastic. I think he kind of looks like the Mad World, or not the Mad World, but the Mad Magazine guy.
Okay. All right.
Trae Young, your greatest accomplishment in your very high career is just getting like 2 coaches fired and then getting to the Eastern Conference Final once just to lose to Milwaukee, and somehow not working with John Collins and then Clint Capella, and your stuff's in question, and being known as the guy who was like, oh, wasn't he traded for hold on 2 seconds. Wasn't he traded for the guy over in
Luka?
Dallas, Luka? Yeah, I forgot Luka's name for a second. Because he was. That's going to be your memory. You're going to have those years, you're going to score, and then you're not going to amount to nothing, because ever since that high that you had of going to the Eastern Conference Finals as like a 4 or 5 seed, it's all going to go downhill, man. And then you're going to make Quinn Snyder just, go into rehab and not, want to proceed with his Stacker 2 energy drinks and pills.
All right, let's keep going here. Let's see. All right, so this is from CBS Sports People. Everybody picking Boston in 7, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, and 1 in 5. Sure. All right. I don't know who these people are, but there are a lot of analysts and panels out there from NBC, CBS, Fox Sports, ESPN, all that stuff. Let's see. You've been warned, Celtics. I guess it's kind of a reverse freezing cold take from Heat Nation, because this is Jimmy walking in to Boston. This is back in April now. So Heat Nation, their Twitter account called it way back. Oh no, this is freezing cold takes.
Yeah.
Outing himself for a freezing cold take.
Well, he's humble.
Oh yeah. There you go. So he admits his mistakes, of course.
That's typical in any kind of funeral eulogy.
For down, he's got the Homer Simpson going into Bush's gif right there. Once again, Sedano, right there. Let's see, secretflying.com, which apparently has 213,000 followers and gets cheap plane tickets or whatever. Okay, so this is about the Heat having their flight to Denver already scheduled before Game 7. And, of course, they said, we'll find them flights to Cancun. So there's another one right there. I don't know much to say about it. I've never heard of secretflying.com, Charles.
No. That's the whole thing about internet. Twitter puts a lot of people that are irrelevant thinking they're relevant.
There we go. Let's see. This is...
You put lipstick on a pig. You still going to kiss it?
Bucks really lost to an 8 seed, fam. It's not getting talked about enough. Imagine if the Celtics did that. That's a good one. Whoever Mike is, that's a good one. Let's see. Josiah Johnson, Tatum redirecting the Heat plane from Denver.
I like Josiah. He does some wrestling stuff.
Well, you're gonna have to get him on this one, Charles.
Okay, Josiah.
Yeah.
Make sure it's the right Josiah. Yeah. Tatum redirected the Heat plane from Denver to Cancun. Yeah, because we were dropping off Deuce. We're gonna show him what real men look like before he goes visit. Oh, I'm sorry. That was cold. Okay, I'm sorry. If we could put that in the chat. I am competitive like that sometimes, and I did say that I hope Deuce Tatum gets bullied in school sometimes because of this, but now I don't. I'm going to redact that. Oh, can we talk about something real quick?
Okie dokie.
I feel like if I did not open up that bag of flaming hot barbecue Ruffles
That's right.
that had Tatum on there, that we would have lost. Because I was saving it. I was either going to eat out of rage or break it.
I feel like my run in Splatoon was also fueling them as well. I was super fresh, Charles. I was on fire. I just needed to get that bloodlust. All right, let's see.
Guys, we're running on like 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, Pat Riley lost his touch. The Miami have jumped the shark. That was back in 2022 from early 2020, or no, early 2022 of the season. This season with Deadspin. Okay, of course, everybody's the 3% from ESPN. That the Heat
that's the highlighted one. That's the one we need to really pick on.
Well, everybody's been getting on ESPN because they wanted Boston. We haven't even gotten to everything because we got to get into the nitty gritty of freaking Mike Greenberg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, trust me, guys. This is just on the Twitter talk. We're actually going to attack players, coaches, analysts in the second part.
Richard Jefferson. I forgot about him.
What'd I say?
I forgot he had that. Oh, there we go.
Boston will come back in 7.
Oh man, we're at an hour and 1 minute, Charles. We're not even done. Dear Lord. Let's just do a word from Ron sponsors and just
go straight to it.
We'll and we could pick out some more after this, and then we'll do some hockey talk, and then we'll do some wrestling. Okay. People, places, things, and concepts that we've been enjoying over last week, Charles. So for me, Charles, I know this is self-indulgent, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just gonna give it. My non-sponsors are everybody's been following me on Twitter over the last month.
Man,
because it's been great.
Who needs an OnlyFans when you could just use this platform to get people for loving you to love them more?
It's been great, Charles. I've been having a very good time on Twitter lately with my two big, my Marlins historian stuff, which was seeing steady growth and all that stuff. That's great. The Marlins are actually above 500 this far into the season, which is surprising. That's all cool and all. But the Panthers, Charles, the Panthers have been fueling me. Like I've got cup fever, my friend. I bought a jersey. I bought a retro Panthers jersey, a white one.
You didn't tell them what you actually bought.
Oh yeah, I bought tickets to Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. Me and my dad are going.
And I want you to hold that thought when you get to the hockey one.
So me and my dad are going, doing that. But people have been following me on Twitter, Charles. And you already did the shout outs of the stuff, but I just
we'll do it again. Panther historian.
Yeah,
follow him if you don't know
history if you want to see that, because someone else, probably a terrible Carolina Panthers fan who probably put racist stuff, got Panthers history banned on Twitter. Anyways, it's been great. I've gotten maybe 300 or 400 followers since the playoffs. Well, since the Panthers beat Boston. All right, Boston, we're not gonna let you forget it.
I want people to know and appreciate how hard it is for you to do what you do when you're a full-time working employee lawyer and trying to be a human being.
It's a lot of procrastination.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm incredibly stressed. So there's one of the dopamine hits and all that stuff from getting those likes. Man, it is addicting. I'm telling you, my friend. So I've been this morning. I got back home from court, Charles, because I was going to come back, change, and then go back to my office, right? But I just needed to do a little something, man, because I was listening to Boston radio this morning.
And it's tough with those. I thought I was bad at pronouncing things. Boy, howdy.
Oh, boy. In any case, I was listening to it. I was just having a good old time, just listening on the back home. And I got back home. I lied down in bed for a little bit because once again I'm running on fumes a little bit here, and it sparked into my head. I'm gonna go on Wikipedia. I'm gonna go to TD Garden and I'm gonna edit this bad boy. So I put it for the first time since 1998. The Florida Panthers and Miami Heat share a home arena together, and of course the tenant section. I added the Panthers and the Heat, Charles, in 2023. Because we've laid claim to the TD Garden. Toronto, you're not getting away for this either. All right, Toronto? Because the TD Garden, you know what TD stands for, Charles? It stands for Toronto Dominion or whatever the hell it is. So the Panthers owned both the Leafs and some weird ass bank from Toronto. So Toronto, we're still owning your all asses. Okay, so there you go as well. So 2023, this is blown up on my Twitter at the very least. It's gotten the most, it's exploded for me, relatively so, especially for this account, which is relatively new compared to the Marlins one. I'm having a grand old time, Charles. I got banned from editing on Wikipedia, and my followers have been enjoying it. So promo code suck at Boston and Toronto. There we go.
Jesus. All right.
This isn't even the calamity, Charles.
I know. This is Petty Cisco.
And the Bokoblins that are just kind of spread out a little bit here and there across Hyrule. I haven't even taken over the Guardians yet.
Yeah, he's not even at Gleelock yet. Mine's gonna be relatively short and sweet because I look through everything, but then I have to realize I spent 5 hours on a certain streaming app. So I tell people all the time, there's so many streaming apps out there. There really is. There's Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu,
Max now, because not HBO
Max, yeah, Apple TV, which I have no incentivization to watch or anything of that nature.
Yeah, they have baseball every once in a while.
Baseball. There's only one thing I can do to watch my wrestling, and that's on Peacock. And for $5, $4.99, guys, there's poor and there's affordable poor. And that is affordable for all kinds of poor, including us, who are stuck in student loan debt that won't get wiped for whatever reason. So I watched both NXT Battlegrounds yesterday with the replay feature so I can advance on some stuff. And I watched WWE's Night of Champions Saturday at 1 p.m. It was all on Peacock. I really thought about it. I was going to go with food because I always go with food or a game, but I'm not done with Zelda. Zelda will get a non-sponsor shout out when I'm like 60 hours in because I don't want to say this is my non-sponsor
right now. It's too easy.
Yeah. I don't want to do my non-sponsor 4 months later or something that I did in May, but $5, you can watch all the stuff from NBC Universal if you wish to do so. So you can see The Office, Park and Rec, Community, I think is still on there. Maybe not.
Jurassic Park, all those movies. Yeah.
Movies. There's the Harry Potter stuff because it goes between that and Max all the time. Brooklyn 911's on there, which is a very good show. Brooklyn 99. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get a Reno 911. So we're leading into it. I think it's on Paramount, and I haven't used Paramount. So I have Paramount, but I only watch it when it's football and basketball season.
I'll dip into it when the Knuckles series comes out.
Yeah. But like Peacock has some stuff that I do watch in between, but I watch a lot of my wrestling on it, and I can watch the old wrestling, I can watch the new wrestling. It's not better than the WWE Network. I'm very jealous of the out of country people who have that opportunity because Peacock's deal was only exclusive, I think, to the US and maybe some other countries, but can't have all things, but it's cheaper. So yes, there's ads and everything, but it's fine. I don't care. You can pay for an extra $5 to make $10 to be ad free, but we grew up in the generation where ads were commonplace. That's what we call bathroom breaks. It was a regularly scheduled thing, and that's why I'm regular as a human being. But it is worth it. I enjoy it. It's $5, for people who want to live the nostalgia of The Office or Parks and Rec. And to me, Parks and Rec is superior to The Office. Though we do love The Office. Every time it's a holiday season. One day I got to tell you about the holiday drinking rules of The Office I have, where you have to drink to every awkward moment on Christmas, and you will not survive a Benihana's Christmas. I guarantee all of you, you will not survive. The minute they get to Michael checking off one of the waitresses with a marker so he doesn't get them confused with who he originally came with is when I'm just like, and I just fall down on the ground. But Peacock explores some wrestling. They got some sports. They'll have football as well for Sunday Night Football. I understand we're all kind of going back to cable to a degree, which is fine. But if you're still in the streaming world and you want to have the library of things, $5 is nothing to snuff at. That's a good deal. It's a good deal. So you could probably get a free deal of it. So promo code, so Peacock, get the streaming app, promo code wrestling.
Okay. Man, I just realized that the way I've been acting, man, I'm a journalist. Like I was legitimately a journalist for hockey.
No, what you are is you're an analyst
there,
now.
I've gone full Stephen A.
All you have to do is just shout in Spanish.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah, mierda.
There's a niche there that I could tap into, but I don't know if I could pull it off for hockey on YouTube. But in any case, I'm gonna be on the Locked On Panthers podcast again after Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Oh yeah, that's right. The Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. Everybody.
How does that feel?
Oh man,
Making that statement.
I never thought I'd say it, to be honest, without it being like a joke. You know, like I've seen the Marlins in the World Series in my lifetime, and that happened. And that was great. Seminoles have won a national championship after I was an alum. Great. The Heat
got
of course.
a couple.
Heat got 3 championships. I followed Wade in his rookie season, man. That I fell in love with him. So that's that. 06 one meant a lot, and then of course the big 3 stuff, and 2013 meant a lot to me as well. And then we're gonna have to wait for the calamity because the Dolphins are also in danger, Charles. I'm gonna tell you that much, but the calamity has to happen before I start.
I don't think people are realizing, friend. So but not even just calamity, friend, but the universe is all connected, and time sometimes is a flat circle. If you watch True Detective, 2-3 years ago, there was certain men on this podcast who had everything go for them because everything was Tampa related. Rays in the World Series, Lightning winning some trophies, and then even claiming, Champa Bay. Francisco, you could be this man. You could be the new Andrew. The year of Francisco might be coming real hardcore.
Well, that was
creepy, right?
The year of the Charles, right? So
yes, everything was perfect. I got Ramona.
And this year, you had claimed it would be the year of Francisco, and I was just like, I don't know.
What am I known to be?
Charles Stradamus.
Yeah.
So we'll see. In any case, Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Final. They swept the Carolina Hurricanes. Every game was close. Quadruple overtime in the first game. Tkachuk wins it. Single overtime in the second game. Tkachuk wins it. Game 3. And then game 4.
Sweep.
Tkachuk wins it at 4.3 seconds before time expired in the third period. Sergei Bobrovsky stopping pretty much everything that's being thrown at him. You got, I guess just every player on the team. I don't even have bad marks for anybody, man. Even Mark Stahl. Mark Stahl, who's
Kachuk, he's more like Kapow because he's
Stahl,
a Batman punch.
Mark Stahl, who's like 80 years old,
Isn't his brother to Eric Stahl?
Yeah, both of the Stahl brothers are on the team right now.
I know things.
They're and they beat their other brother who was on the Canes, and like even him, it's just like he's not screwing up either. All these guys, man. Anthony Duclair, Sammy Reinhart, Sam Bennett is a freaking dynamo out there. He's a menace that can score. Radko Gudas, the butcher, just absolutely killing people on the ice. Sam Bennett had a fantastic hit in Game 4 that put a guy. I don't know if you saw it, Charles. Just absolutely.
I saw bits of it.
Yeah, the guy was just laid out completely. And you don't see hits like that much in hockey anymore, but that was completely clean. And it's been amazing. It's been everything that I've seen this team from rock bottom, Charles. Just like tanking, less than 10,000 people in the stands. It looked like a Marlins game in a smaller building. Curtains on the upper deck.
And you're a loyal one because we were there 2 months ago.
I covered the team in that time frame, like in an official capacity, and talk with people who work with the team, attend press conferences, all these other things, and just it's been a wild ride now. Fans have just suffered for a long time. This is I know the Marlins have it bad right now, and I still stand by the Marlins have it worse than the Oakland A's. I'm gonna tell you that much, because the A's, they have a fan base. Their owner hates them.
Sucking for
Nevada. Stadium. it doesn't matter where they get a stadium, the A's will be fine as long as they get one. The same thing for the Rays. The Rays will be fine. They just need a stadium. The Marlins have everything except what's on the field and a bad history. But anyways, that's a whole aside. The Panthers were worse because they had no history whatsoever. They just had one good run a long time ago. And I had been covering the team and just be like, man, it was like Uncle Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about 1982. You know, if Coach had just put me in, right? If the Panthers had just in 96, if they had just won the cup, right? Man, things would have been great. Things would have been just thinking back to 1996. How much do you think I could throw a football over those mountains, you know? Like that's how it felt for the fan base, the ones that were alive for then, you know, or that were not little kids as well. And lost generation of fans because they were so mediocre to awful. And now we finally have another year to talk about. That's a big thing. There's just something new to talk about. Something to actually look at and just feel like this team is legit. And
it's been a good productive 2 years. I don't know how you view going from 1 seed to 8. I still think that's an absolute win.
Yeah.
Aside from being similar to another South Florida team,
yeah.
The whole purpose of it is that you're being consistent in the playoffs.
And some people are trying to make the excuse, especially like Boston fans with like, oh, and you know what? I think you can look at both the Heat and the Panthers and be like, were they really 8 seeds in this? They were 8 seeds in statistically.
In theory, yeah.
But in spirit, they were not 8 seeds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the Heat, no one was healthy. But this is the Boston.
Well,
this is not the Boston. This is the hockey segment.
Yeah.
So we'll go from there.
I mean, the Panthers also, they were missing Sam Bennett for a while, so he wasn't healthy. Anthony Duclair also was not healthy. And they had they were kind of wishy-washy goaltending from Sergei Bobrovsky. Spencer Knight had to go on the NHL's personal rehab thing.
Yeah.
Because he's got some demons he's got to tackle. And then but the Panthers, that last couple weeks of the season, got healthy because we got Sam Bennett back, we got Anthony Duclair back, and we got one hot goaltender, and it was Alex Lyon. That somehow we found this guy, brought him up from the minors, and fueled them into the playoffs. But playoff lights were too big for him, and then Sergei Bobrovsky turned into the man that we're paying $10 million a year for. So that's what. And then Anthony Tkachuk and Jimmy Butler are the same entity. It's just a shapeshifter that just goes from one side to the other. We never see them in the same place at the same time.
Do you think he listens to Taylor Swift as well for Matthew Tkachuk?
Probably. Matty Tkachuk is a real one. I'll tell you that.
Are you going to get his jersey? I feel like you should, but I can understand.
I will, Charles. But we need the calamity to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
the explosion.
That's the moment, Charles. We're waiting for it because Ganondorf took a while. That took like 100 years to come back. I don't know if we're at 100 years yet, Charles. We'll see. Maybe by next week. Maybe in 2 weeks we'll see. But we'll see. If not, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I had a good time, right? I'll stay sitting there waiting.
Well, what are we playing with?
House money.
House money, and we forgot about it. And I want to talk about it. The concept of house money falls into a very simple mindset where you got nothing to lose, but you got all to lose. But what you lose is to hit you harder than anything else.
But this run is so much, yeah. Honestly, this run, I'm more comfortable with this run than I was last season. Because last season had all the pressure, right?
What did I tell you last night? I have never wanted to get swept more in a series if it was the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
It means something more here because when we look at who we beat, we're going to get demolished by Denver. This is me and my lack of being pragmatic as opposed to being a Heat fan. Objective, yeah. Yeah, we don't match up well. But everything else, truthfully, is the fact of you gave us the best and we took it. Yeah. And that was the thing going to Chuck, and we're still going to go on the NHL, but there's a highlight I want to speak about for a second where people were saying the best team didn't win. The person who was the best team in the series did. Something like that. No, the best team won. because we played the most complete game with the best players. What you're saying is that the franchise players didn't succeed, and that's on you guys.
Yeah.
But I have never wanted to think anything so much. And I think for you guys, even though you went from a 1 to an 8 seed, you beat the Boston Bruins, who were just treading new ground, broke records. You beat Toronto, who thought they had finally got over the hump because they got out of the first round. Look, guys, I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
This is me knowing things. It's amazing. You beat the bunch of jerks who, statistically speaking, were the next man up to succeed, and they couldn't get it done.
And they, I don't know which team you want to compare the two, but they're in like NBA or baseball, or whatever.
They're the Boston Celtics of it. The way that they're doing it, you know what I mean? Like this is the.
Because people have said that Carolina's they're on the cusp, right? They're right there. This might be the, and it was for Boston, for Toronto, and for Carolina. When Toronto saw Boston go down, everybody in Toronto, all that stuff were like, this is the easiest path they can have to winning a Stanley Cup. They're playing Florida. Florida takes out Toronto. Carolina, the same thing. This is the easiest path they got to get to win a Stanley Cup championship now, and. I have nothing. I don't feel anything about Vegas. I like there's such a new fan base.
It's like if they get it, good for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like once again house money, right? Yeah. So it doesn't really. If the Panthers lose, it's like okay, well, we had a good time. It was great. We went to Vegas, all that type of stuff, and. There's nothing really like. There's just not. The only storyline that you can connect between the Panthers and Vegas is that when the Vegas Golden Knights came in through the expansion draft, the Panthers were probably the team that made out the worst after that. They lost some big pieces at that expansion draft, and including one that has the most points, or at least the most goals for. Vegas right now, Jonathan Marchessault. He's one that I think Panthers fan had to get one back. It was that one. So the Panthers did make out the worst. People were giving them F grades after the expansion draft, or at least after the, especially after the season when they were grading the expansion draft after that. So the Panthers have gone a long way from working from that to here now, and they're facing a team that kind of. I don't know. It's really the only linkage that these teams have. Aside from that, Gerard Gallant, of course, coached them a while ago, but he's gone. So there's not really much there anymore. Really, that's the only connection. Jonathan Marchessault. That's really. I don't know if Riley Smith's still on the team. I haven't even checked. I should probably analyze what the Golden Knights are actually doing. Aside from that, but. It's great. I'm having a great time. I got Cup fever. I bought Panthers media guide from 1993. I bought this new jersey. That's new, but it's a retro jersey. I bought that as well, and I'm on eBay and on Goodwill right now. And I'm probably gonna buy more stuff. Charles, I already bought tickets to Game 3, and if the Panthers win, the calamity happens. I'm buying a Kachuk jersey. Like, it's happening. This is a time, Charles. This is a time right now. I'm having a well of a time and having a good time. Fans are following me. Fans are happy. People are. I also tweeted out. I was in the park. I was skating, and I was like sitting down, taking a break, and I labeled this as an aggressively Cuban man. Because I was wearing a Panthers hat.
Yes.
And I was wearing a Panthers hat. And it was the only way I could describe it so that people would know exactly what type of human being I was dealing with. I love how you laughed right there, Charles, because I know you had a picture in your head as to what kind of man I was dealing with. An aggressively Cuban man.
It's a man in jeans, possibly shorts, with a white shirt with his belly showing, possibly balding, talking to you.
And talking to me at the speed of sound, because Cubans, and at a very loud volume, even though we're only like a foot away from each other. But struck up the conversation about the Panthers in Hialeah, of all places. I feel like I'm the only fan in Hialeah, and so that was a great moment for me, because it means that it's working, and there's a lot of people up north that don't like this, and we have to wait for the calamity in order for me to talk about that. We're at an hour 25. Stanley Cup Saturday starts. Great, it's gonna be fun, and we'll see what happens. At this point, it's just we'll see what happens. I'm having a good time playing Zelda.
So you and Dad going to Game 3. I can pivot this. You and Dad going to Game 3.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, I mean my brother-in-law didn't want to go. Of course, he's a Penguins fan. He has no really ties to the Panthers, and he's seen the Stanley Cup Finals already in his lifetime, and so he didn't want to go. My sister, of course, too busy, working the kids and all that stuff, and I wasn't gonna go, because I'm like, I'm poor. I'm poor. I'm this and that, and I say I'm poor, but in any case, I really am. And my sister was just like, you have to go. You've covered this team. You're doing all this other stuff. This may never happen again in your life. You have to go. And so I'm like, okay, I'll call my dad. And I called my dad, and I was looking for tickets. I'm like, okay, let me see. I don't know. Sheesh. Hopefully they're not all completely sold out. And, my dad was kind of like, I don't know. And then my sister calls my dad, and she basically is like, you have to go with him. So after that, my dad called me back and was like, I'll go. I'm like, all right, fine. Let's do it. This is half my paycheck. Let's go for it. And I dropped close to $1,300. So, but I'm going to have a good time. And I already called off work early for that day. So that'll be fun. And I'll be in Sunrise, and I'll be having a good time with everybody else. I'll be documenting it on my Twitter account, and I've got some stuff that I'm planning now for all of this, and I'll be on podcasts and stuff like that. I'm doing graphics for Litterbox Cats, which is where I did all my journalism with before, and so because SB Nation is dropping lots of coverage for NHL and even baseball now, they're just kind of falling apart financially. A bunch of media stuff is going on with that. Like a lot of people are losing their jobs, and they're dropping a lot of stuff. So it's going to be quite an interesting next few years for sports media, because we're kind of in a transition period, because the pandemic kind of affected things. This is kind of an aside here, but it affected things. Like John Boy Media let go of a lot of people. And I think it's just because and the same thing's I think it's a direct correlation with the streaming stuff as well. All these services, we just don't have, our lives are back to basically normal. So just time is not there for all of this stuff anymore. Okay.
Yeah, we can't do this mass consumption that you guys want.
We can't have, John Boy can't have 20 different podcasts about baseball, right?
And we somehow have been able to make it work to a degree. But, that's saying
this
something.
This is a hobbyist thing for us. We just do this for fun. We do this for fun. Whoever listens in. I retweet it on all my accounts in case whoever wants to listen in can listen in. But we do our own stuff on the side. Charles tweets about wrestling. I tweet about hockey and baseball. Andrew tweets about UCF. That's what we do. And then we talk about gaming, and that's it. And then but there's only so much time you have to listen to all of these things. I have a set amount of podcasts that I listen to for dumb stuff, for basketball, for hockey, and same thing on YouTube. I have I have the hockey guy, I listen for hockey. I have Andy Hoops, who I listen to basketball, and then I have the dumb stuff for all the dumb things that I watch. And then the same thing with the streaming services. I have Hulu, and I mooch off Netflix from my sister, and that's it. And then I just play on my PC and my Switch and whatever my retro consoles. But there's only so much time for stuff. In any case, that was an aside. Stanley Cup Finals, woohoo! We're at an hour 30 minutes, Charles.
All right, back to the NBA.
Ooh, let's go. We haven't even talked about guys like Jason Tatum and
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Williams and all these guys on the Celtics.
May I start with humble pie?
Joe Mazzulla. We haven't even talked about Joe Mazzulla, who's only 1 year younger than me.
It doesn't hurt.
Oh, it does.
May I give some humble pie?
Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna grab a banana real quick. You keep talking.
I've said a lot of things, and I mean a lot of things. You know, I come across as sometimes being the erratic one out of the three of us, but there is some thought that is given. And one of the things I've learned, 33 going on 34, sooner than I like, but more understanding. And with age comes wisdom, and with age sometimes comes forgiveness, but we don't forgive anything. We right some wrongs, right, kids? And I have to dish out some humble pie. We haven't done humble pie in a minute.
It's been a while.
Because there's nothing that we should feel acknowledged about. But earlier this season, my love for the Heat and my pain for the Heat took a hard turn because of the fact that I saw us middling and I got frustrated. And my humble pie doesn't go to Bam. He doesn't get a slice of it. I still feel that he takes very scared shots like he's Philip Seymour Hoffman in There's Something About Polly, or Talking About Polly, whatever the hell that movie's about. You know, Long Came Polly. I still hold to that one. But I had made statements about two men, Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent. And I'm going to eat that humble pie because I said you got guys who wouldn't even be on that bench rotation. Right? Did I not say that? Mm-hmm. They would be on the 11 through 15. And I'm going to say it right now, guys, that's on me. I was wrong. I'm going to eat that humble pie. Caleb Martin, you have earned your keep because you have shown progression, development from your coach and from your want of being a player. Gabe Vincent, you have been better, a better option than Kyle Lowry. And it will be a cold day in hell.
And he missed the game. You don't know how much you missed something till it's gone.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, it will be a cold day in hell before I eat humble pie for Kyle Lowry. I'm almost certain of it. Almost certain of it. Beyond belief, almost certain of it. But damn it, man. I'm going to say apologize, guys, because even though they gave Jimmy MVP for that, the Larry Bird trophy, it really should have gone to Caleb Martin. The guy was averaging like 25.
He only lost it by one vote.
Again. Well, objectives. What can they say? But do I feel confident with that team completely? No, you never do feel confident with that team completely going where you have to go. However, it really shows the proof in the rotation, the understanding, the smarts of the situation. It was good, man. It was what's needed, and that's my humble pie for them. Anybody else in the Heat I have to serve humble pie? Slightly to Duncan Robinson. And it's not even because Duncan's bad. I think in the beginning of the playoffs, you heard me say just throw Duncan in there. Let's see what happens, right? But, at least you're coming in there and you're doing what you have to do. You're not subjecting us to the pain. Everybody else, not so much. I am interested in what we can do with Ermir, your 7, because I think they're going to rust Kevin Love for a little bit before they go into it fully. But I had to give the humble pie. Now I'll let you take place into how you want to approach coaches, players, and analysts because, guys, we're not done being petty.
I mean, I didn't really listen much to the players' press conference after the game, but I did listen to Joe Mazzulla's.
Man.
That was a rough one. That was a very rough one.
Yeah, you talk about tone deaf is the word, right? Do we want to call that? And here's the thing. In respect to Mazzulla, when you give him that full offseason, he's going to be okay. You got to remember his situation. Ime Udoka got caught, put his hand in the cookie jar. Boston got rid of him. He was out. He had to go and figure out some things that led to it. Understandable. Okay. Mazzulla takes it in, gets his guys love. But that entire team, they did fine in Philly, but remember, they were down in Philly. So when people tell me, ooh, it's going to all come together. So I'm just going to leave this. When people tell me this was the best team and they were down like 3-2 to the 76ers, it was not the best team.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. It wasn't coordinated because
need a hero ball from Tatum.
And Tatum and Brown were both just like just out there in the wind. Robert Williams, who I think is better than what they make him be, was not doing much. He wasn't playing into it. Derek White is just the ultimate Bane killer because he's the one that got us knocked out last year. And then Grant Williams talks all that trash. So F him, right? All I can say to that one. However, it just wasn't coming into it. So Missoula will figure it out, but you can clearly tell that sometimes lights got too bright for him. Yeah. I know that's a phrase that we often say because it's so cultural, but it was very prevalent. It was very known.
Yeah, it was. I mean, credit for getting back to 7 games, right? To push it to 7. I think he did make some adjustment to it, but
then you'd still lost 18 points or 19 points, man.
Yeah, but once again, you're playing chess against the chess master, right? The grandmaster, that Spo,
Bobby Fischer, whatever that movie was.
Exactly, right? And you ain't no robot, you ain't no Deep Blue who's about to beat Spo, right? So like he went up against that, and Spo found a way to scheme against Boston. And Boston didn't adjust that because Spo adjusts so much during games. It's insane.
Spo also tells his guys to stop shooting shots that they can't make.
Exactly. Which killed Boston in Game 7 because they were shooting threes. Like, they were just chucking things. Like, and he, in his press conference, he mentioned, like, how much they had, like, they made, what, the most or the second most threes? Or highest three-point percentage during the season, right? And that was, like, their bread and butter. But, I mean, the old saying goes, right? You live by the 3, you die by the 3.
Yep.
So they never had a plan B for when the shots weren't falling that way. And so he just didn't have an answer for it. And he didn't have one last night when they asked him about it, right? And I've been there. I've been there in court where it's just like, yeah. Just don't have really an answer for it. So when I saw him, I'm like, that man's only a year younger than me. Like, we grew up the same, like, liking the same stuff and all that stuff. Like, he has that same look I would have had. It's like, well, like, it just...
Joe Missoula's favorite Pokemon is Pidgeotto. That's the age group.
Yeah. So, it seemed like... the moment got to him. And you can't fault it. I honestly, because I can't say, because people are like, is he the right man for the job? Like, I can't say that. I can't say like he deserves to be fired because he comes into this situation.
Whoever is calling this man to be fired is an idiot. Well, I'm gonna be the first person to tell you that.
Boston. So, in any case, no, he's. If the Celtics want to be patient and actually develop a guy to be the coach, and this is Brad Stevens' guy, of all the guys that he could pick after the Udoka thing, right? Then you have to give him at least a couple more seasons to work this out, right? The Jaylen Brown situation, I mean, we'll see what he wants, right?
That's up to Brad Stevens to figure out to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Can he swing him for other pieces? Can he fit? Because once again, because this is also Brad Stevens' first shot at actual GM management of a team.
And he did an excellent job. He did the Larry Bird transition.
Yeah,
former player, coach, GM. It was perfect. They traded for Malcolm Brogdon. They kept Derek White on a good deal. They had to figure out if they want bum ass Grant Williams, who poked the bear. And Jimmy, and he had to deal with both. He had a big decision to let go of Udoka and then keep to Missoula. And that's the thing about basketball. Sometimes you can let your players control the team and let your coach come back up to it. But sometimes you have to kind of step down to it. But Boston is a very neat, and now this is where I come in. Sorry, I have to do the shit talk. It's coming. Boston is such a neat. There's 2 sports organizations that are so knee-jerk, and ironically, none of them are New York. It surprises me, right? Because, you don't hear even though I call for Boone's firing every week, it ain't happening. They're actually, preaching patience. Tom Thibodeau is still coach of the Knicks, preaching patience. Rangers, I don't know who their coach is. I just know Tortorella had it for a long time, preaching patience.
The New York Rangers,
isn't like
It
don't they
was
have
Gallant.
runner up?
It was Gallant.
Yeah.
This past season, but now he's been let go.
Yeah, that was like 3
But
seasons, right?
NHL's weird. NHL has like, I think Treat has made the joke, and also the hockey guys. It's like there's only like 30 guys, and they recycle those 30 guys. It's just go from one team to the other, and maybe every like 5 to 10 years you get one new guy, and then that's the coaching carousel in the NHL. There's just a lot of repetition.
It's kind of like basketball to begin with, but Boston and LA are the two knee-jerk reactions, and it's not surprising that Boston and LA were the ones who had subsequently gotten rid of a lot of their dudes, because prior to Darvin Ham was Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel got you a championship.
Yeah.
Couldn't manage a roster that was hamstrung in cap activity, like cap hell.
Yeah.
But somehow it's not Mitch Kupchak's fault, or whatever.
Being healthy for more than 2 games, you know.
Yeah. And then you like the only team itself, like it's tough for me to say that the Los Angeles Rams and the LA Chargers are part of that group yet. So I'm going to divide them away. For a second, they're too new in the absorption, because you got to remember they're the San Diego Chargers and they were the St. Louis Rams for a long period of time, and they kept their guys. Granted, they could have had other people put in there, but the Dodgers were the only ones who were loyal to Dave Roberts. But there's how many Lakers coaches have there been through? A lot before they even got there. You had Darvin Ham, you had Frank Vogel, Mike Brown was there at some point, Mike D'Antoni was there at some point. Then you had some people that was in the in-between where it wasn't working. Everybody's always going back to, we need Phil. Yeah, sure you do, Phil. Phil wouldn't be able to catch up to the speed of this game. He would be talking about triangle offenses where the new generation is about the big centers and the big power forwards shooting a 3. It wouldn't work, guys. You're not going to get 10 feet into the paint. And then Boston is the other kind of market that was quick to hire and fire. Belichick doesn't count. Technically, you're New England, but it doesn't count. But look how quickly Red Sox. They had Cora. Cora gets caught for stealing and doesn't get banned for life because Rob Manfred's a punk ass. There's worse words I was going to use, but that's an insult to those anatomical parts to mention that. So they go with Homeboy, whose name I already forgot, but then they go back to Alex Cora. But even prior to Alex Cora, they had that one season Bobby Valentine. Yeah. And then he was out. And then with Boston, they had Doc. Doc was out. They go to Brad. There was questions about Brad itself because they felt that Brad was too small on the spectrum coming from Butler. And then they had to deal with the Isaiah Thomas situation. And then you go to Ime, and then you go to Missoula. And then they wanted Ime, and then Missoula wasn't acting out and going from there. So they're very tough on it.
Yeah, and even in hockey, the Bruins have kind of cycled through guys. And, Jim Montgomery, the current Boston Bruins head coach. This was also his first season as a coach. Yeah. So this is also another connection. 2 rookie coaches, right? That happened.
Versus 2 8-seed teams.
Versus 2 8-seed teams from South Florida.
Amazing.
And Montgomery, greatest regular season of all time. Those other stuff. And lo and behold, look what happens. And people are already calling for his head, right? And Boston's gone through. So before they had Claude Julien, but the last few seasons it's been kind of like you had Butch Cassidy, or Bruce Cassidy. Sorry.
And Bruce, didn't he win our most handsome?
Well, yeah, and who's Bruce Cassidy? He is the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Mm-hmm. So he gets fired by Boston, and look what happens. So, it might have been a little knee-jerk, right, for the Bruins.
It goes back to what you're talking about. You don't let coaches marinate. Yeah,
and that's kind of why I can't. I'm not calling for Missoula firing. You got this guy. You got this out of a first-year coach who, with a team that has actual expectations.
Yeah, and, fantastic.
That went up against a grandmaster in coaching. So any other situation, if I'm trying to think of what other team. Let's see. I think Missoula would have beaten Tom Thibodeau if it was for as much as that would be laughable.
Look, he led to Doc Rivers firing. I think that's important because we always with Doc Rivers, we talk shit about him, but he's a good coach. I'm just saying he's not a very good coach.
Doc Rivers, he's a good enough coach, but not good enough. He's good enough for the regular season, but not good enough for the playoffs. Just chokes a lot of time. But Missoula was already better than him. And I'd say Missoula would probably have beaten Thibodeau and the Knicks, and he might have held his ground against Budenholzer in the Bucks, right? Mm-hmm. And Nick Nurse just got hired by the Sixers.
Oh man!
So we'll see how that works. But yeah, and so hey, he's gonna stay. They're not firing him.
No,
People
of course
don't
not.
talk. Stevens would be dumb if to fire him now and just let him go.
He's not.
So that was the only thing that stuck out to me. I didn't really listen to the players and stuff, but
I'm going to pinpoint on the players, just more or less, I think, because Jason Tatum, I feel, travels.
Just to let you know.
That's fine. Jason Tatum, just travels so much, and then Jaylen Brown's going for the big contract extension, but no one's good. But now we're going to go to the part of it, because we could talk about the players. Let's go to the real part of it. I swear to Christ, if I have to hear one more goddamn time about, but his ankle went down in the first play. Do you not know that Jimmy's been playing on a busted ankle for 2-3 playoff series? Did anyone
walking with it with like no bandage or anything on it?
Did Tatum? Exactly. Did Tatum not be? And he was grimacing last night. Did Tatum not know how to do the proper pick and rolls, or not travel all the time, not go to the basket and get the fouls, or pass the ball along? And then Jaylen Brown just on the turnovers. He had 8 turnovers coming into it.
Gabe Vincent rolled his ankle.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you want? Tyler Hero has a broken hand. The
rest of that game too in game 4.
And I just think it's pathetic how we're going to hear that, Tyler Hero broke his hand. That's all we hear about the Heat team. I'm like, that was a legitimate injury.
Yeah. And Oladipo's out too.
Yeah, but a rolled ankle is terrible.
Yeah, it hurts.
Terrible. It is bad. Yeah. No one's saying that Tatum. This is not a personal attack on Jason Tatum. This is a personal attack on the fan base, and not just accept the fact that they lost.
Anybody who's rolled an ankle is it's not enjoyable at all.
Yeah, but it just goes also back to the whole thing about people not, because we're getting to Greenberg. This is the road that we're getting to, where it comes back to, like, y'all want to wear your rose-colored glasses, and when you hear the gunshots in the background outside of your room, of your home, you're putting on the sound-blocking earmuffs, and you're not calling the cops. It was not there at all that they were the best team in the series. When we went 4-1 on Milwaukee, 6 on the Knicks, and you guys had, I don't even remember who your first round was because I watched Boston play. Then you had to come back down 3-2 to Philly. Y'all were always playing behind. We were always playing ahead. But you're the best in the series, because the problem is you fell in love with the objective mindset of the Celtics and the old heads going back to it, because you have this expectation that they should have been there. We were the 1 seed last year. We went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why are we disrespected on this? Give us the same credit, because we don't have 2 max contract players. In theory, we actually do. Technically, we have 3 if you want to add in Bird, Rice, for Robinson. But no, we don't have the right coaching. We don't have the right organization. Where were we under 500? Because I know when Boston was under 500, when they were doing their own mini rebuild. Yeah. I know when they didn't have names to come up. They had to wait for Tatum and Brown to come available. When they were not wanting to pay Isaiah Thomas, and they had to sign Al Horford, and they traded Al Horford. And they did all these things. What's this disrespect that comes into it? Do you not like us? Is Miami not a big market? We now have all of South Florida proliferating with the up and ups. But with the Panthers, possibly the Dolphins are not my team, but I'll claim South Florida for a second. And the Miami Heat, which has been to objectively the most finals since 2013. If you look at the stats, or 2012, go for the numbers. I don't have to go from there. That did it with different players, with different stars, that had the LeBrons, that did it before the LeBrons, that have done it after the LeBrons. With the same coach. What is your problem? Because you needed to be Boston? Y'all bitch about so much about eras. Y'all bitch so much about dynasties. Y'all bitch about not having a new blood. But when we give you legitimate new blood, you hate us. Or parity. But the thing is, Francisco, we're not parity. We're not parity, because in the 4 seasons, we've been to the Eastern Conference Final 3 times. We're no longer parity. Y'all are spoiled brats. You hate the Golden State Warriors who are keeping it doing. We're essentially doing what they're doing. We just have a little bit late to the blueprint, but we're giving the full, complete picture, because we started that shit 10 years ago. You loved it when it was Phoenix and Milwaukee. Right? You loved it when it was Phoenix and Milwaukee, but didn't really kind of transcend anything afterwards, because Milwaukee was on a nosedive and Phoenix was really on the nosedive. And then came Golden State and Boston, and you had to go against old legacy versus the team. Y'all propped up an organization that kept a lot of consistency, that hasn't won anything since 2007. You know how I am. Winning the Eastern Conference Finals means nothing to me. I'm playing with house money right now, but that's fine. But we know we have some legitimacy towards it. But what is it that you hate about us? Were you that desperate for Lakers and Celtics? Look, I wanted the Lakers. You know why I wanted Lakers. I was completing it all together, man. I was bringing it all on. I was making the universe whole again. I was putting us into the right dimension, where out of nowhere, Skip Bayless is agreeing with me. Is it because Boston to you guys is marketable? It snows. It's cold there. Everybody's too pale. There's not a single Latina there. Okay, Chinese food is excellent. But even though I love Peter Parker, I'm not crazy about redheads 24/7. What is it? What is it about it? Is that everybody has that crazy personality? And then we get to Mike Greenberg, and we're gonna quote it. Do you have the quote in front of you?
Let me look.
I'll bring it up from the Twitter feed real quickly because I have to quote it. Because you're paying people near 7 figures, because he's got to be on that big money, to say the most ridiculous, asinine, obtuse statement that I have ever read. That was surprised because I actually like Greeny. I don't mind Greeny. I like goal-licking Greeny. I think that
I always repeat. I always, whenever I get these takes from ESPN, I always go Stuart Scott died for this, or ESPN died when Stuart Scott died.
Yeah. Well, but that's the whole thing, though, is that you believe what you committed. The biggest, I got it. I'm ready for it. You believed the biggest sin that attorneys try to avoid. You know what attorneys try to avoid, everybody? I'm going to give you free legal advice. I'm going to give you free experience advice, free educational advice that they don't teach you in law school, but you figure out the moment you pass the bar, you deal with one client. If you believe what you want the evidence to believe, you forget everything else. And that's what these clowns did. From Barry Jackson, we love you, Barry Jackson. ESPN Mike Greenberg, I will go to my grave saying Boston's a superior team, but they didn't play like it. I will never again say the team with the best players win in baseball. It's no longer true. No one will ever be able to say the Celtics didn't have the best players. But that's your way of not just saying objectively that the Heat was better played, better man, better coach, better from there. When truthful, what you're saying is they shouldn't have lost. They shouldn't have lost. But shouldn't they have lost? The litmus test of the entire season was everybody was injured. Plain and simple. But you get that, and everything comes to the machinations where people are going to ride on their horses and their pitchforks and their torches of the hive minds, or not the Charles's hive minds, go on and saying that, they weren't the better team. If you lose to that team, you are the worst team, and that team that beat you is the better team. No bones about it. That's why you get 7 games out of it. Objectively speaking, the New England Patriots were the best team when they went undefeated, and they didn't win the Super Bowl, but they could arguably still be the best team of that sport, right? 1 game, sure. If you really want to quantify it like that and minimalize it like that and make it like that. But if a best of 7 series, you have 7 opportunities to show your worth. And not only did you lose game 7, you lost by 19. That was dead as a doornail halfway through the 3rd quarter. And you should have lost on the Derek White shit, but on game 6, for whatever reason, they go from 3 seconds, even though it was 2-1 higher or 2-1 prior, and they never got the explanation out of it. So what is it? Because the Greenberg stuff we expand on because that's everybody else. Because then it's Tatum's hurt. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, they're doing that. One thing, Robert Williams now had the flu. He was throwing up in between takes. I'm like, come the fuck. Then you don't play Robert Williams, right? Plain and simple. That's the coaching thing. If this guy has a broken ankle, you don't play the broken ankle, right? We look. What did Spo do in Game 7? He looked at everything and said, "All right, there's Kevin Love, okay, and okay, there's Cody Zeller and his balding ass. We're gonna put Hayward Highsmith in, and he's gonna be the 5, or he's gonna alternate between the 4 or 5. You made the hard decisions, and you got the hard results." Yep. And it is ridiculous because, Greeny came up because I'm like, all right, because what you're saying is, even though I think you're the best players and I don't believe you should have won, I'm still not in agreement with it. I will go to my grave saying Boston's superior team, but they didn't play like it. I will never again say, I'm like, man, when you're this deep in the postseason, this is the one thing I want to point out. Maybe I would agree with you in round 1. Maybe I would agree with you in round 2. I am not going to agree with you in round 3. Because you at least have a difference of 18 to 21 games to really flip it on you. Y'all just don't like the fact that the team that you called darlings, the team that you call favorites, the team that you said was going to be on top consistently, you couldn't look at with the optics. You kept the rose-colored glasses on, and you hated it to hate it. And that's the reason why we shit on you guys, because you're more desperate to want these people to be relevant because it makes you relevant to speak on it.
Yep.
It's so weird that we have both Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless on this side with us. I can't.
Yeah, it's an interesting little dynamic that's happened here, but Uh,
I went deep in that hatred. I'm sorry. You have a comment on
I
these
don't
examples?
actually. You did it perfectly succinct, and I'm actually. Let's see. I'm looking at. We're at an hour 55. So
That's fine. We're
I
good.
think, but I think we've let our thoughts known. You know, we it took us a while. We had to kind of warm up to it with the Zelda talk, and then we really laid into it at the end. So I'm feeling good, and well, you've got some pay-per-views to review, Charles.
I got a lot of pay-per-views, and I can keep it
Ooh.
capsized to the way I'm structured this. Welcome, everybody, your weekly Truplex to Cage with Charles. Full disclaimer, wrestling is not fake. It is scripted, unlike the NBA Finals. Look at that, right? Look at that, baby. Some things people go against the
Yeah.
script, right? It's about establishing legacies, chasing championships, men and women being the holy hell out of each other, just trying to make a name for themselves, making some money, whether you're paying $5 a month on Peacock or $50 on Bleach Report. Don't order it from Amazon. I learned the hard way for AEW's Double or Nothing. Where was I last year? AEW's Double or Nothing. I was at the Hard Rock. You know, having Justin Timberlake's Love Song stuck in my head as I'm going Margarita number 4, and
You
Margarita
were
number
at the
5
Hard
came out.
Rock.
Yeah.
I think that's when we lost Game 7. So
Exactly. And I was just like, oh man, the universe is
mhm.
such a weird animal coming into it. But this time I was fine doing things to learn things because there was just so many pay-per-views and it kind of broken up in the right way of how we do things. So um how it's structured was Tuesday was Night of Champions. I watched that in full session live. Sunday was both Double or Nothing for AEW's Double or Nothing going against NXT Battlegrounds, and I didn't get to see, Double or Nothing. I'm not paying $50. I'm sorry. You have to have the perfect card for me to do it. Like, and it's happened before, but you have to have the perfect card for me to do it. And I watched NXT Battlegrounds yesterday, so we're gonna do Double or Nothing, NXT Battlegrounds. No, we're gonna do NXT Battlegrounds, Double or Nothing, and then Night of Champions. Let's do this. NXT Battlegrounds. They had their pay per view in Lowell, Massachusetts. Enjoyable. It was good. I was wrong about some stuff off the bat on the show, but it was still enjoyable. They started with the Wesley Triple Threat North American Championship match. It was good. Wesley retained. They had the Creed Brothers versus Gallus for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Decent match. I felt like it didn't get enough time going from there, but it was at least worth the viewing that you have from it. Gallus retained. Creed Brothers had some interference that affected them, and they go from there. So it's like, okay, fine, we deal with it all the same. Noam Dar versus Dragon Lee Heritage Cup, NXT Heritage Cup match. Eh, eh, whatever. Tiffany Stratton beat Leah Valkyria for the NXT Women's Championship. I was wrong on last week's show saying it was Jade and Roxanne Perez. And apparently by the end of the night when we finished the show, I was completely wrong and I didn't know about it. But Tiffany Stratton's now your new NXT Women's Champion. Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Breaker. Carmelo Hayes retained clean going against Braun Breaker. I don't know why they don't have chemistry. This is weird. This is for like a main event title, and the two guys don't seem to have it fluid. I think part of the problem is their match only went 14 minutes, but it wasn't like hitting. It was good. It was average, slightly above average, but it wasn't hitting. You know, it was hitting. Ilya Dragunov versus Dijak, last man standing. This was the match that Dijak needed. He was Donovan Dijak, and then became Christopher Dijak, then Donovan Dijakovic, and then when he got called up to the main roster, he was T-Bar, when the part of Retribution. So he went back to NXT, and he's been coming back as the concept of Hard Justice, which kind of looks like Commando or Cobra. I would say Sly Stallone's Cobra versus Ilya Dragunov. I sent you some clips. I enjoyed every minute of that match. It was like 15 minutes of these people beating the shit out of each other. Remember, Ilya Dragunov has my 2021 match of the year against Gunther, aka Walter at that time in NXT, in a fantastic match. I enjoyed it. It was uncomfortable. It's been a long time since I've been uncomfortable watching a wrestling match, and you like it. It was a good claim to fame. It is the highlight. Go watch that match. I encourage you guys on Peacock for $4.99. That's my NXT Battlegrounds. Now we go to AEW Double or Nothing. I had to catch up on it. I had to build into it. I had to look into the results. I have questions. I have legitimate questions of certain things. So you had the Hardys. Hardy Party beat the Firm. I was right about that. Yay. Orange Cassidy retained his title. Yay. I was right about that. Adam Cole beat Chris Jericho. Yay. I was right about that. FTR defeats Jeff Jarrett, and then Jay Lethal, Karen Jarrett hit Aubrey Plaza. Not Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Edwards, not the actress, but the referee, with a guitar. Wardlow beat Christian Cage. Kind of shocked, but good for Wardlow to a degree. Tony Storm beat Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter must be really hurt to give the title back to Tony Storm. They must have been executive call. They say it was only like a 3-minute match. I don't know what happened in depth, but I was shocked by it. House of Black beat the Acclaimed. Yay, I like the Acclaim. They're the ones who do the rapping that I always send you, but I also like House of Black as Malachi Black is awesome. I've seen him live. I also seen Buddy Matthews live too. That's the thing. Some of these wrestlers in AEW I've seen live in person. So, you do feel some kind of attachment towards them because you want them to see. I've seen Adam Cole. I've seen Roderick Strong. I would probably cry if I saw Chris Jericho. You're talking about 20 years of stuff, even though he does some silly stuff. Let's talk about this real quickly. TBS Championship, which is the women's secondary championship. Jade Cargill, who, to me is good. I like her. Some people don't. Whatever. She had 2 matches. She beat Taya. Women's crush. Man, she could crush us, right? She's actually married to Brandon Phillips, who is a she's from Vero Beach, but she's also married to Brandon Phillips, who I think is a former Brave or Diamondback. It's Brandon something. Might not be Brandon Phillips.
Brandon Phillips? The second baseman?
Yeah.
From the Reds?
Yeah. Oh,
really?
Let me double check this. Let me check this. Brandon Phillips.
Let me see.
Reds.
Personal life.
Yeah, because he's with Jade Cargill.
Crap, really?
Yeah. Like it is a sports show. It's all brought together. Good on him. That's all I'm saying. Like dude, your ball play is one thing, but your pool game is a 10. So here's my problem. Jade has been undefeated for 500 days. She has defended that title 60 times because she would defend it on Rampage, Dynamite, pay-per-views. She beat Taya Valkyrie, and then she held an open challenge after that, to which Chris Statlander came back and beat her within like a minute. And so that's how you end a heel's reign. It's weird because you just pout up as being successful, but then her pride and arrogance gets her to lose within a minute. It didn't sit well. And I know there's bigger things for her. You could probably get a face turn, get her to go against Toni Storm and win the title off of it, but I don't like it, man. There is something to say about 500 days not being pinned and then 60 title defenses, successfully title defending it, and then just losing to a returning wrestler. I don't know, man. I don't like it. 4 pillars, main event match, MJF, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, MJF retained. Yay. I got to watch it on the YouTube or whatever because I do like majority of those performers there. MJF is a great heel. There's stuff I'll send you on him. He retained. Adam Cole is going to come for that title, and that's who will beat him. Blackpool Combat Club defeated the Elite in Anarchy Arena. Very violent match. I think I sent you the picture of Matt Jackson's shoe exploding, going against Mox's head. Konosuke Takesha. God damn, I can never say it right. Takesha. This is why I can't do anything about New Japan sometimes. Takeshita interfered, cost the match. This is going to lead to blood and guts. Kota Ibushi's going to come out. Okay, fine. Will I watch that pay-per-view? I don't know. Some of those decisions I saw kind of bothered me. Night of Champions, Saudi Arabia. I will say this. Hunter has almost had a full year doing pay-per-views. This is in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. It started at 1 p.m., so I had to rush shit, man. Yeah, lift some heavy weights, try not to be tired, take a little bit of an energy, and then watch it through. Because my buddy was watching. He's like, "Come on, watch." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And we just got on the headsets and go from there. We're talking some trash. So with these Saudi pay-per-views, they were just nostalgia acts. Goldberg was on there, Taker was on there, Kane was on there, Triple H, John Cena. They actually developed storylines for it. So they started the match with Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for that new World Heavyweight Championship that I'm not crazy about. The match took a moment to get into, but it ended very good. Ended very well. Seth Rollins won. He is now the inaugural championship. Well-deserved. It was good, predictable, of course, but sometimes that's a good thing about wrestling. It can be predictable, but still be enjoyable. Championship is still ugly to me. I thought I was going to sweeten on it a little bit when I saw it on a person. Not the case here, bud. Not the case here. Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch. Becky loses because Zoe Stark interfered. So this is NXT call-up who interfered in the match and followed with Trish. This is a good rub. This will help develop some storylines, push it to SummerSlam. I'm in approval of it. Gunther versus Ali was a good 8 minutes at 35 seconds. Ali was, the roots boy coming in, putting that stuff in, lost to Gunther because everybody loses to Gunther. We love that big Austrian. Man, it was a good match. Asuka beat Bianca Belair, and I didn't expect it. She cheated the win by spraying Mr. and Fingers, and when Bianca went for the KOD, it was a little awkward, but, she was able to kind of rake into the eyes and then knocked out Bianca. You had to end that run. I said it last week where the issue was that Bianca was getting stale, so you either had to have her drop the title or have her turn heel. And you could always build the idea of the face just trying to chase the championship again, which could be something compelling. But at some point, something happened. Surprisingly, Rhea Ripley squashed Natalia in a minute. So there's that. Now we get to talk about something that made me very, very happy. Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes. Brock beat Cody. Cody passed out. He wouldn't give up the Kimura. He came in with a sling. They said he had a broken arm. You can't see me, but I have the finger quotes up. But whereas Cody didn't look like a badass to me in the Backlash match, and I just hate it because Brock looked like the badass, Cody looked good. This is how you extend a feud. You didn't make me tap out. I passed out. My body gave up on me, but I didn't give up. It brings the spirit. Plus, you keep, Brock being dominating, and allows their third match to be a no disqualification or something, because Cody was used. Here's the thing you have to explain to me. You prove the match. You're being told that you have a titanium cast, which isn't true. I've broken my hand before. I got plaster cast, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But you're allowed to use your cast to hit somebody. Isn't that really like the equivalent of low blowing somebody as a DQ? But the match itself was good enough for me because, remember, I don't hate Cody. I like Cody. Follow us on Twitter, Cody, please. I hate how they booked it since he came back. Beating Seth was one thing, but coming back from the pack, win the Royal Rumble, being that he outlasted 29 of the men, which he didn't. He outlasted like 5 because he came in number 30. Losing to Roman was the wrong call. I told you Cody should have won. It was what I was predicted. I was accepting it was okay. And for whatever fucking reason, sorry, I had to curse on that one, Vince, because it's a Vince move, is going to delay it. It's always Vince. It's always Vince. It's always Vince. I hate that man so damn much. So much. But we'll just see where it takes us. But that feud is going to be continued. Brock looks engaged, and that's saying something. Now let's talk about pure cinema. Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, you sent me the images.
Denise Villeneuve, Brian De Palma, all these have called and helped out Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque in developing the storyline and the bloodline. You had the best screenwriters, Paul Nervous, doing this stuff. Quentin Tarantino had some cameos in this stuff for the Sami Zayn stuff. If I had to assign Quentin Tarantino doing something, man, it would have been when Sami was part of the bloodline. I'm just saying. It was a tag match. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending against the Bloodline. They're undisputed tag titles of Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa. Sami comes out in the garb. I don't know its full name, so please forgive me for my ignorance. But the full garb, because Sami's a Muslim, and that's why I know he ain't fucking losing. And then he started talking in Arabic because remember he was from Sami is a Muslim by way of Canada. Please, Sami, if you follow me on Twitter, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll take it. I'll be anytime to learn about you, dude. I'll take it any second way. I love you. I'm gonna donate to Sami for cereal one day. I promise. $20 ain't gonna kill me. But he's literally talking in Arabic for them. Everybody's all smiles. You don't have someone lose like that, babyface wise. And the match is very good. Went for like 26 minutes. It was excellent. I was enjoying it. But let's talk about the cinema because that's what we're really here for. Francisco, the bloodline is crumbling because Roman had been getting to heads of Jimmy and Jey Uso. Those are the ones who betted for the tag team championships. They wanted the tag team championships. Is everything that they were about. And then Roman's like, I'm gonna win this. I'll name my father and my uncle, Alpha and Sika, the Wild Samoans. We're gonna do this for them. We're doing it with Solo with me. They interfered. They tried to help out. They went to super kick Sami. Sami ducked. It hit Solo. Roman saw this. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? I told y'all day one ain't around anymore because that's what the Usos were called. So day one-ish. And then he kept abusing Jay and he pushed Jay and Jimmy just lost it because on SmackDown before, he was looking at the tag titles like, ooh, I want this because, Jimmy at the end of the day is a predator in that sense where he's going to get what he wants. And then Jimmy just super kicks Roman. And you're like, oh my God, it wasn't even unprovoked. All Roman really did was push Jay a couple times in the face. But Jimmy's like, hell to the nah, we doing this right now. And he just pushed him and go from there. And he super kicked him. And then you look at some of Jay's like, what did you do? You got to be better than this. And Jimmy's just getting that months and months and months. Because remember, when Jimmy came back, his whole role was nobody's bitch. They even made a shirt about it. But then he got caught with the DUI. So they probably simmered that down a little bit for a long time. And it's just good storytelling. I'll tell you in a second why, but I'll finish the thought process. And then Jimmy's going to Jay's like, I'm doing what you should have done months ago. I got you. And he pushes him away, and then he super kicks Roman again. Solo eats the pin. 1, 2, 3. And there's Sami Zayn overlooking Roman. See the end of Bloodline. It couldn't have been booked more perfectly. And let me tell you something. Whether or not Roman needed to have the titles on him is debatable. He didn't, in my opinion, but still. Roman's fear is losing. No one's pinned Roman. Roman's big fear is just losing, not having it happen to him. And now it's just the end of the bloodline coming into it. And Jimmy's going like, Jay, we got to go. We just did something. We got to go. We get murdered. And Jay's like, Joe. He's calling Roman by his real name, Joe. He's like worrying to him like, the whole conflicted because Jay is the Stockholm syndrome. He's the Snow White going with the beast who's just keeping you in there. And then Jimmy's Gastoning the shit out of everything. And I love it. Coming into it because we love Jimmy because Jimmy's whole story to bring it all back was about being nobody's bitch. So how the bloodline started was Roman won the title And then Jay won the #1 contendership. And the whole thing was, remember, they had an I Quit match at a Night of Champions pay-per-view, or Clash of Champions pay-per-view. No, it was in Hell in a Cell they did the I Quit match, but they had 2 pay-per-view matches. And the only way that Jay was able to say I quit is because Jimmy came in, begging Jay to do so. And Jay at that time legitimately had a real knee injury. So what Roman did was choke out Jimmy in front of Jay, and that's what made Jay say I quit. So, Jimmy's got the receipts, as the kids say. So what I've liked is, at some point it all comes back, but now it's Jimmy's turn. Now it's Jimmy's story with Roman. You had a little bit of the Jay stuff, but Money in the Bank is in July, because they're not going to have a June pay-per-view because it's so close pay-per-views in May. I'm all for Jimmy versus Roman. I'm all for it being for the titles, the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, whatever the hell they call it, because he doesn't have to win. You know what I mean? But you can build it and you can further it and you can have something happen, because now it's just Jimmy and Roman's time. Because the thing is, the Usos by nature have always felt like faces. And when I would send you stuff with the Bloodline, the way that Jimmy and Sam would interact would make Jimmy feel like a face, a good guy, a guy that you want to be around with. And it's just so compelling because it's going to break off at some point. With this new World Heavyweight Championship, I don't need Roman to defend those championships just yet. I would like him just to get it to Cody, to get it done with. You know what I mean? But if we're going to get the Usos versus Solo and Roman, knowing that Solo is the brother of Jimmy and Jay, you see what the fate comes into it. And is it going to lead to Solo versus Roman, where Roman lays down for Solo, not for the title. Solo's not ready for that, but to at least help establish a pass the torch, because now we're in that weird part, man, where we do need to build stars for the next 5 to 10 years. You have that maybe with Cody. You do. You really do. I'm not going to lie about it. You have it with Cody, who's like 36. You have it with Gunther. I love that man. He's that also is 36 as well. Solo's like 30, I think. So you can build over, because, Roman's going to go to a part-time schedule. He's already at a part-time schedule. And here's the thing about the Roman, the part-time schedule. But are you not entertained when he does show up? That's what matters. It's the same thing with Brock. They might be part-timers, but are you not happy that they're back? If the answer is yes, shut up, right? Plain and simple. But you have to build up, because Roman's 38, 37, Drew's 38, 37. AJ's 45. He ain't got much time. Renior might come around. Seth is 37. I think his birthday was the other day. You can go very long in wrestling, but you never know, right? So you have to figure out what the mid-25s, the 30s. So you have to look at the Austin Theories. You have to see how those guys come out. You have to go and see who you can develop, build on all levels of the card. Yeah, well, it's not necessarily the next generation, because they're here. You have to view it as the next level of the card. Lower card, mid card, top card, right? Plain and simple. Wrestling has now refreshingly a lot of longevity. Hogan and Flair were doing it for so long that we were gaslighted by it. But, WWE, they don't have to do it if they don't want to do it. They might want to do it. But Seth and Roman have been on the main roster for 11, 12 years. What else have they done if they're not invested to do new characters? Seth is filming for the new Captain America movie. Roman's done some movies. They both have Hollywood appeals about them. They're going to make more money. Why not? Why would I not go do Hollywood stuff instead of breaking my body down? Cena's basically out. I don't know who he's going to lay down for completely. I do think it will be Cody, to be very honest with you. And this compelling storyline is going to be Cena comes back to try to break the Ric Flair world record. And then Cody is the representation of, Dusty and everything like that. I would get behind that 100%. But overall, Night Champion's very good, near excellent. Double or Nothing, I'll YouTube a couple matches and let you know how it goes full. I've seen some highlights. Twitter's a beautiful thing sometimes. Battlegrounds, enjoyable. Nothing really stood out except for the last man saying match, but it was a good peak of wrestling. And now we're going to go into downtime. I'll be able to really focus on certain things and critiques, but we're going to give you some mindsets. And also there's Collision that's happening June 17th, where it's expected CM Punk's going to come back. So maybe I'll be more AEW geared. But that's all I got for you in a very kind of abbreviated but long cage.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's it. Bye, everybody. We're done.
Take care.